Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Podcastjuice.net. My name is Michael Dean, and this is the podcast on Prince. And we are going to be doing a review discussion on the new Prince album, Originals. This is, though, as we're recording, this album is exclusive to Tidal, but in a few weeks here, it will be on physical media and also all the other streaming services. I believe that's June 21st. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, June 21st. That's going to happen. But joining me today, we have Big Sexy and Sax. Sir, how are you?
I'm doing great. Looking forward to getting into this. And again, coming off my weekend of last weekend, spending time with the lovely and talented Jill Jones and Benisa Leitner. That's right. That's how I roll.
Hilarious. All right. Shout out to them. Also joining us is Mr. Pooh. Sir, how are you?
I'm doing great. It's a beautiful day in LA. Got my E3 on. I'm ready to talk about some Prince now. But it wouldn't be Pooh without throwing shade. Mark, stop playing. You got the VIP tickets. Don't act like you had some special.
Hilarious. Actually, there was no tickets involved. It was a free event. But
okay, the fuck up. I will be shutting.
Hilarious.
Classic.
All right. Well, we had to reach back into the vault of great Prince podcast hits hosts over the years. So we had to bring my man. He came back. He saw we were doing a podcast about the original. He said, "Oh no, Mike, it ain't you can't do reviews if you ain't got the crew on now." So we want to welcome back our guy Dey Dropping. Sir, how are you?
I'm doing well, Mike. I'm glad that you heeded my warning that you got to have me on when you do a review. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm glad to be back, guys. I'm glad to do these reviews. Anything new, I'm all about that. So
that's what's up. And I know you will appreciate this album, if nothing else. Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff to talk about. All right, let's just get into it. Again, this is the new Prince album. It's called Originals. And of course, for you guys who already know this, but some of you may not, this album contains tracks that Prince originally written and recorded, but were given to other artists for songs on their albums. Some of these songs were big, giant hits. Some of them were not so much hits, but all of these songs had previously been released. And now we are getting to hear Prince's versions of these songs. This is something that I have longed and always dreamed of being able to do, was to hear Prince's versions of certain songs, and in particular songs by the time. I would always be like, I wish they would just, if there was a way they could put up, I want to hear Prince's take on some of these songs. So when I saw the track list and heard about this initially, that they were going to have some Prince versions of the time songs, I was like, I'm already on board. Take my money or whatever I got to do. I have to hear this. So I was very hyped and ready for this release. I will say this off the top. For me already, this is the best Prince album, after his passing so far that has been released. Of everything that has come out, from the re-releases to the piano microphones, for me right now, this is the best one in my opinion. I really love the idea of this, and I actually like the execution of it. We'll get into it here, what everyone else thinks about that. I'll change it up a little bit. Before we go for our track-to-track discussions, I want to just kind of get everybody's thoughts on their initial thoughts on this album so far. And I want to go to Dey Dropping so far. What do you think of Prince Originals? Well,
I remember, Mike, when I think it was back on the Purple Rain, like the extended release, or the special edition one, and we mentioned, or even before that, talked about what we would like on it, and we did pretty much in consensus that we wanted to hear the time tracks that he did for Ice Cream Castles and all that, and we would love to have that on there. And so, like yourself, when I saw that those tracks were on there, I was all over and happy. At 9:01 p.m. Friday, I was on my phone listening to these tracks with my wife and just listening to them one by one, enjoying it. I think also that this is probably on par or maybe a little bit better than disc 2 from that Purple Rain extended release that had all the outtakes and such. This is just a little bit better than that. So I do agree that this is one of the better releases. I've had so much fun listening to this. It just, for me, and I know a lot of people are kind of bummed, they're of a different opinion of this, but I'm okay with just listening to 80s stuff. And so hearing this particular release was an extra gem for me. I mean, I'm still soaking it in. This is a grower album. I haven't had a grower album from Prince in a bit. And it's one that's making me go back to the song, listen to it more. There's one track here that I did not care for that I'm really digging now, a week later. And that's what I have. I'm getting that Prince experience again with this album. And I was missing that, that growth experience. And that's what I really dig about this release.
I feel you on that. I think I know what song you're talking about. But we'll get into it. Big Sexy, man. What are your thoughts on the album?
Well, excuse me. My thoughts are kind of twofold. The album itself, love it. Love it, love it, love it, love it. And there are some things on here that I've never heard before, especially not having heard him do it. Now, we all know that there are sources of, shall we say, imported versions of certain things. Most of these I haven't heard before, so I love that. Also, let me give it up to Tidal, because I am not a streaming person, as we all know, but it turns out that my receiver has a Tidal app on it. So I went ahead and set it up and all that. And I don't know if this is the byproduct of the new equipment that I've got lately or what, but I use the Tidal setting for master recordings, and the sound quality is seriously on point. I can't say anything bad about it. Jay-Z and his people did a great job, producing and getting this out there, and it sounds great. And there's some things that stand out, and a couple things that we're going to laugh about too. So let's get into it.
All right, Aunt Pooh, what's your thoughts?
For me, I don't mean to be shady at all. I am not trying to be shady. But when I'm listening to this album and I'm realizing that these are somewhat essentially demos, I'm thinking like, God damn, this dude Prince was a bad mother. Because he is performing these songs. These are supposed to be, I think we all anticipate most of these were guide vocals. And I understand he's probably doing it in a manner that the singers that he's giving it to can sing it that he feels is the best way to perform these songs. But part of me is thinking he's not really putting his full emotion, his full vocal range and capabilities in it. And when you listen to these songs, you're like, this is him half-assing it, and I'm not saying he's half-assing it, but you just feel like these are demos, these are guide vocals. But you can just take this and put this on the airwaves now, and it just makes you, once again, leaves me in awe of how good this man is. And I'm quite sure, somebody listened, Jill Jones or Aja Simone or somebody was there like, this dude, Aunt Pooh don't know what the hell he talking about. Do you know how good he was? But I'm just saying, when I heard about this album, I was thinking these are not polished, finished songs, but his vocals are just so on point, and you just, again, leave me in awe. Like, he was that good. And just to reiterate what Mark said, there's a lot of songs on here that I passed on. Some of the Sheila E. song, New Rendezvous, Makeup. I had no idea that was a song on Vanity 6. I've probably skipped over that many a time. And like you said, it's making me go back to hear the originals and now even further appreciate the song that I'm hearing now. But again, going back to the prolification? You know what I mean? How prolific he was. There's a word for that. That he's creating these songs, and and for me, I don't know, was he doing it like this is a song that came in his head that he might take, or was he wrote this song for them? And I don't know, but it just makes you think this man had that much talent, that much music in him, that much writing in him to put together these songs, demo them, guide vocal them. And here it is, 2019, they sound almost as good as what you can put out on the radio. So I'm really loving this album.
All right. Well, let's get into it. Don't waste no time. First song on here is Sex Shuddha. And for me, I will always think of the scene in Purple Rain. This music plays, where Morrison is watching the girls rehearse. But here we have Prince's version. This song dates back from 1983. And it eventually was released on the Apollonia 6 album. To me, this is just that classic. I would say that I remember when this album came out, the Apollonia 6, and obviously this song was in the Purple Rain movie, and it always kind of felt like, oh, this was just some kind of throwaway type of thing or something. I never listened to it as much. I probably listened to it more in the movie than I did going to listen to it on the album. But now listening to it in its glory here with Prince doing it, I can easily see it's probably written for a woman, but his delivery on it was perfect. I was like, this shit is jamming. I don't know what else to say. I really like his performance on this. The music, the quality of the sound is great. And I find myself not skipping this at all and letting it play all the way through. And it's so catchy. It's a simple song, but it's so Sex Shuddha. I'm just like, And I always keep, wait. I keep, jumping into doing Morris's little bit. But I love this. Sex Shuddha is on board for me. Day Dropping.
Yeah, I'm very, very similar sentiments on the album proper. Not on the album, but as part of the soundtrack, the full soundtrack, I've always, in the movie, I always thought this was kind of not a boring song, but it was just a song until it's done, and that's it. I never really thought much of it. Hearing this version here, I like that I can actually understand very well all the lyrics, especially the low spoken word part. I can understand that well. And yes, I know we can always look up lyrics online nowadays, but just listening to it, I like that I can hear and understand it a lot better on Prince's version. I like that the sound, again, is very, very clear on this. You can really make out a lot of the different musical tones on this. And this was, as Pooh said, basically a demo. And as a demo, it's incredible to see just how well it already is structured. And it's incredible to see just how tight he had that rein on what was going to be recorded and how it was going to be recorded. I find that very cool. I know he was very much perfectionist in that way, and that things had to be his way. And there's good and pluses and negatives to that. But I like the fact that he knew the vision that was in that song. And what you're hearing here is very similar, if not almost identical to what was ultimately done by Apollonia and Vanity too, I believe. But, it's a good track. With these tracks, we'll go back to the scoring. I'm going to give 2 scores, one for the original versus the quote originals version. So for the original one by Apollonia, I've always considered that track a 6. It's high. This one, because it amps it up a little bit more and I can hear the lyrics better, a 7.
All right. We'll switch it up. We got Aunt Pooh.
I have to admit, Ernie said something that I have to agree with. You can hear the lyrics a little bit better. Listening to this song, and I'm not trying to shade anyone, but the way it's a guide vocal, the way that Prince sings this, I feel it more than what Apollonia ultimately produced. And it exudes the sexiness, it exudes the day dropping, if you will, technically. And there's the part where after the first chorus, he's like, I need you to pull the trigger. I can't do it alone. And he layered the vocals. And I was just like, God damn, that was dope. Why isn't that on the finished product? So it's really great to see what he was experimenting, how this song progressed. And overall, I think I like this song more for the scene in Purple Rain because, I was 10 years old. That was the first time seeing women in lingerie. Yes, I know there was Vanity, but I didn't know about a Vanity 6. But listening to these vocals, I like this song more. And the way he is singing it.
All right. Big Sexy.
Lately, I've been getting into a lot of David Bowie. And David Bowie was known as being a chameleon. You know, one time he's doing the Ziggy Stardust, another time he's doing the Let's Dance stuff. Prince was doing the same thing in studio. He could take a song designed and written for a woman and deliver it from that perspective and make you believe it. He's not doing it as a parody. He's doing it so it's believable. So when I hear this and Manic Monday, or when I hear The Jungle Love, you can hear him taking on that persona of another person, and it's amazing. And with this, he does it again. You know, this one kicks off the the collection, and musically, again, it is so firm and solid. It sounds better musically than the original CD, but I have to do a direct A-B comparison. But Prince's vocal, yes, it is a guide vocal, and I'm not ripping Apollonia, but she ain't a singer because he shows how this is supposed to sound. And she never recaptured that. And that's not a burn on her because she's not a singer. But the way he delivered it, it was perfect. And it's like I was saying earlier, a lot of this stuff could have been released on its own. He gave away a lot of firm hits here to other people for whatever reason, and that's cool. But hearing his version, to me, freshens it up, makes it a whole different experience, and I love it.
All right. Next up this is a classic song. So this is very interesting. Yeah, Jungle Love by Prince. Now, originally, I believe this song started as Jesse Johnson sort of came up with the original music, or a version of this, and then Prince did his take on it or whatever. But definitely, Jesse had to give Jesse his props on this song as well. This is an interesting one because this song for me is so ingrained of Morris Day, the time. It's almost hard to even, when I always said I wanted to hear Prince's version of songs, it would not be something like this because to me this is so like their signature type of thing. I would always want to like, what is 7793 or some of these other songs sound like? So I was actually shocked. I was like, man, they're going to put Jungle Love on here? Initially, you hear this, and for me, you fight my mind. It's like, okay, I hear Prince doing this, but I have to disassociate Morris's voice because it's so stamped in my psyche that this is the way the song sounds because that's the way I heard it. But this is the original version of that song. And listening to this, it confirms a lot of things I've always sort of thought in my mind, and we've sort of heard that Prince is the original freaking Morris Day in the sense of the way he sings it, all of the stuff you hear in that attitude and the Jamie Starr and all that. Mm-hmm. And to hear this is just like, wow, you know what? And I would say I slightly disagree on something. I don't see these as guide vocals. I don't personally think Prince does guide vocals. I think Prince records these songs the way he records them and makes you try to sound like him. Some better than worse, but I don't think I don't per se see him holding back when he's doing these songs. I just think that's the way he did it. Some of them, you could say he may go back and maybe double up some of the harmonies or things of that nature. But from a lot of the bootlegs I've heard over the years, his vocal performance is usually very consistent with all of his songs. Even when the released versions, they may even tweak the music. A lot of times they keep his vocals from the original recording. So I tend to think that these are just the way the songs are. But I go all that to say, it works here with Prince doing it. You can hear he's a more playful attitude from him, or you know what I mean? He's kind of like cracking jokes or something. I remember at the beginning, or you can hear him laughing a little bit. And I'm like, he's having a good time doing this, and which is back then you would have never heard him laughing on a song. Like they would have edited that type of stuff out. But I love that you can hear like, this was Prince too. The time was Prince. I saw an article about this song from the I don't remember what site this is, but it's the I think his name is Michael Howell, or he's the gentleman who is in charge of he's the archivist for the estate, so he's the one going through all of these tracks and tweaking them up and everything. Michael Howell, and hopefully we'll have Mr. Howell on the show pretty soon. But he talked about this particular song, and he was saying that in his opinion or things that Prince was actually kind of low-key joking, or I would be clear, I'm not saying he was going in on words, but it was kind of clowning a little bit during the recording of this song. And it was sort of like some digs at the time actually in the song. I don't know if he's saying that to say that they may have edited out some of the things he was saying in here too, but they go to describe that, was it Peggy McCrory? She was saying that Prince, when he was recording this song, normally it's just her and Prince in the studio, but this particular time, Morris and Jesse were there. And she was like, he came in here, he didn't have no shirt on. He was like kind of antagonistic a little bit during the recording of the song. He was just kind of real hyped up. And she didn't know if that was because the guys were there or what, but he was on something a little different that particular day when they recorded that. But this is a slightly edited version, I believe, than they're released. But I thought I would skip this. Jamming it, still the jam. It just as much works with Prince. My mind can only think, if we jumped into the quantum realm like the Avengers, there's a world somewhere, a timeline where these are Prince songs, and and he does these songs in the movie. It's just like whoa, and it's a whole different reality. But I dig it, man. Jungle Love, it kills it. I'm gonna go to actually Big Sexy.
Co-sign everything you said, and the thing is, when Prince came up with the song, I'm just visioning him saying, okay, Morris, it's going to go like this. And since Prince essentially built that Morris Day character, he sang it as that character. And you can hear it all in the song. And it reminds me of, like you said, this could be a Prince song easily in a quantum universe somewhere. Because when I think of Prince singing Cool on some video footage from like 2011, I almost forgot that it was a Time song. Granted, he wrote it, but yeah, Prince could have easily kept this on himself and done his thing with it. The song is great. It's it's humorous, and it's always gonna be one of my favorite songs. So having this original version of it just makes it better for me, and I love it.
All right, Dey Dropping.
Yeah, co-sign you guys as well. The only thing for me to add to that is that I found it very entertaining for me to blow a couple of people's minds at work, having them listen to this version of it, and they're like, "Oh yeah, that's the time, that's cool." Like, "Oh no, listen closely," and they're listening closely, and they go, "The voice is different," and they're listening to it again. I go, and they're not as deep as we are on it, so they're like, "No, it's just the time." No, listen closely again, and they're listening again. I go, "No, it is somebody else." And I, then school is in session and we start explaining everything. And I go, "Yeah, well, see, this was Prince," and and start telling the story. Mind's blown, confetti everywhere. It's like, man, they couldn't believe that. And I go, and I'm telling them, yeah, he was the mastermind behind all that. That's what he did. And, that's, you spread that knowledge around with tracks like this, that, hey, he did this and he did it almost like just disposable tracks. Here you go. I don't want it. You can have it, type of thing. And it's incredible. However, that said, I am so ingrained in the original that it's hard for me to 100% embrace this one as something that's going to take over that original. The original one, I think, is just a classic. It's 9, 10, depending on whether it's overcast or not. And this one here, I give this one a solid 8, only because I dig Morris's portrayal of Morris in this track. And but yeah, it's a great track to go show to friends who don't know that Prince did the time, and to prove that. That's a great bit of evidence that, yeah, Prince did the time. He was a mastermind. They didn't do them. He did them. And they don't believe you. You put on this track. So yeah.
There you go. Yeah, I love that. I love that. Just looking at, shout out to Prince Vault. I was just looking this song up. I'm going to go to Ant next. But it says the basic tracking took place on 26th of March, 1983, Sunset Sound in Hollywood, the day before My Summertime Thing, and the day before Chlorine Banking Skin. Can you imagine?
Oh, shit.
Like they had
incredible 2 days.
Yeah, they had burners. Like, and those last two songs I mentioned don't come out for a long time later. But I can only imagine what Ice Cream Castle's album would have been if that Jungle Love, My Summertime Thing, and Chlorine on the.
Holy shit! So that came out the next day. Then that was recorded the next day.
The next day, yeah.
Wow. And taking into account that Prince would go on for hours and hours and hours, chances are when they recorded those, they were tired. So those were tired tracks. You know what I mean? Man. Woo.
Yeah, man.
Amazing.
That's crazy.
Well, Mike, before you get into Ant, I'm sorry about that, Ant.
Pause.
This is you stop. This is almost like when on the B side of, I think it was The Walk, they have the song Tricky.
Yes. Yeah.
They're in the studio cutting up. That's the vibe I get from this.
Yeah. Okay. You know? Yeah. I love that vibe. Hopefully, I pray to the state lords one day they'll really start going into some niche product where they be like, we're gonna do the expanded time sessions album or something. Let's just put all this stuff out because yeah, I'm sure there was golden stuff in there. All right, Aunt Pooh, man, what you think on Jungle Love?
Okay, fellas. Please.
Hey, Ant, don't get hurt, man.
I know I am. Just give me a demerit. Don't completely revoke my principle. But, and I put this on Facebook. I was like, oh my God, did Morris Day give a better vocal performance on a Prince song than Prince? I'm not a big fan of this. Maybe it's jarring to see Prince in this manner. And, I know the background, the backstory of him working with the Prince, that the Morris Day persona is a lot of Prince's doing. But there's something to be said that when somebody knocks it out of the park, like Morris Day did, that he owns it, no matter the origins. And with that, when I heard the song, I just felt like, oh man. Wow. I just felt like he was not exuding that. I know y'all gonna get on me. That charisma and that swag that Morris E. Day brought to this song and to that character. It just felt like it felt okay. I mean, the music is still banging, but the ad libs and I'm sorry, I'm not feeling this song.
I'm giving you the Billy head shake right now.
Well, I can meet you halfway. I'm not going to say it's better, but I think the thing, and I can really only say this maybe with the time tracks, I do believe that when Morris records these and the versions that come out, his vocal performance is very polished as opposed to what these so-called originals are. Like in terms of this, I like Prince's performance on it, but I would, in my opinion, I think Morris's performance of it is a takeoff of this. Obviously, he's following what Prince did,
exactly,
and it's more polished, which it should be because it's like, yo, you have to do it right, like, and we're gonna add a few little other things in there, in the backgrounds, different things, and so I think, and I'm gonna say this about another time song, Morris's performance are very much more polished than Prince's are on these particular songs. So I would give you that. And again, Morris to me has his own swag and ability as well in terms of his performing, which comes through as well. So I do see that, but I also say that I think it's because it's so ingrained in our minds that these are Morris tracks. It would be a little hard to not give it up to Morris. And plus, we saw Morris perform these songs. Probably some of the first times we actually heard these songs were in the movie too. So it's so imprinted that it's hard not to. You have the visual element in the back of your mind and the vocal versus this. I would get it, but I think it's a case of we don't associate Prince with the song. This is such a signature song. We don't associate it with Prince. We're so much associated with the time, and they stamped it. They killed it when they put it out. So it's hard to not sort of think, yeah, he's good, but he ain't doing. I mean, it's not Morris, because that's how it was presented to us, right? But I would argue though that I think that you couldn't have Morris's performance if you didn't have Prince to give him the template to do it. But for certain people, and I think Morris matches these tracks perfectly, that a songwriter could write a great song and their version of it could be great, but there will be those times when they get it in front of the right singer or the right person to do it. Well, it will seem like as if, yeah, but when he does it,
yes,
it's sort of like if you give a song to a Whitney or something, somebody else, Babyface could have maybe done this song, he wrote it, but let Whitney sing that motherfucker. Oh, now, okay, now. Or same thing with and again, Jimmy Jam and them don't sing, but you could even give, and I'm not shade on Janet, a pseudo singer that, but put her voice on it and in the verse, as opposed to maybe Jimmy Jam's. You know what? I say that, and I hope I don't get in trouble. I have some of the control tracks, and I think it's What Have You Done For Me Lately has the guide vocal from Jimmy Jam on it.
What?
So you can hear him singing it, and I can turn his off and turn, and have him singing back, with Janet. And again, yeah, he wrote that song, but Janet is clearly one my mind is ingrained, but she works with that. So I would say there's always going to be some times where a singer might be able to give a better performance, even when the actual writer gives you the guide to do it. But I would also say, I don't know if Prince was if he was going to put this out, I think his performances or his other vocals would be just as polished as well. But I was trying to say I meet you halfway on that.
We're going to discuss that off.
I know, I just opened a can of worms.
Right.
Okay, with that being said, here's a question. I don't want to get too sidetracked, but when do you think he would have put this out? What album or era you think he would have put this song out that it would have fit him?
I would say for me personally, I don't think it would have fit him earlier on.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have. I could see the later Prince put this out.
I could see it being a B-side on something he did.
There you go.
Then.
Yeah.
Possibly a B-side. Yeah, to me, this is, I just don't, it would be such a shock to him. What is this? This is, but I could see it later when he didn't seem as super serious or something. I would say even as late as Sign of the Time, or as early as Sign of the Times, I could have seen this being a B-side. It would have been a monster B-side, but I could have saw I'm gonna put this fun record out. That's the jam.
Well, you know how this album is badass. I'm gonna tell you how because we just said that Jungle Love could be a B-side. That's how you know.
Yeah,
it's badass.
That's funny. On one way, you could argue the Times first couple, they're all B-side. I mean, because his B-sides were so phenomenal back then. Their whole albums essentially would have been his B-sides.
It's funny because it's true. Yeah.
Thing is, Ernie mentioned about the Times definitive version of the song. See, for me, the definitive version is on.
Oh, I know where you're going with that.
First Avenue with the Time. Because that's the version that is used in the film.
Yeah.
That's what I reference to. Now, does this match that? No. But I think this is better than the Ice Cream Castle's version.
All right. Do everybody?
Now, as far as ownership, I agree with what you said, Mike, because I watched Otis Redding the other day on Monterey Pop do Respect, blew it to bits. But we all know who takes ownership of that song.
Yep, that's right.
Even though he wrote it, but she owns it pretty good. And his version is fire too. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, interesting. I'm sorry, dude. Don't want to make sure everybody got to comment on this song before we move forward. Big Sexy, did you?
Yeah,
I started out. Okay, all right. Let's move on, man. The next track, the third track on here is Manic Monday which of course was a big hit. I want to say, was it the number one song for the Bengals?
I think it was number two.
Number two.
Oh, did it?
And then Kiss,
Oh, that's right.
Kiss being number one.
That's right.
Wow,
Kiss kept it from
okay.
being one.
Interesting. Yeah. So man, Prince was doing his thing back then. That's when he was dominating the game. But yeah, Manic Monday. Actually, I want to let somebody else start. Day Dropping.
Manic Monday. This one's a little bit jarring. I mean, again, I'm so used to hearing, the Bengals version of it. And I mean, I do like it better than Apollonia's version. I've never cared for that version. I always, thought that she just can't pull off that vocal. It always sounded weak to me. But hearing Prince do it, I mean, he's obviously singing, not obviously, but it's a song that appeals more to a female singing it than a male, even though he changes the genders on it to make up for that. But it's cool listening to him do it. This is the fly on the wall track. So you're being able to hear him do this. I don't feel that he ever meant to keep this particular track. So I find it, a little bit lacking that way. It's the arrangement is cool. I just really dig what the Bengals did with it, because they really made it their own with their musical arrangement on it. And I find it a lot more, magical the way they did it. Now I'm all for sparseness, and we'll get into that with other tracks here. But in this one here, I think it worked with a little bit more with what the Bengals did. But this particular track on its own, I think he could have released it. I think it would have done well. I don't know when he would have released this one. Again, doesn't seem to fit into anything he was doing around that time. It was more, maybe it was just an experimental type of thing, and it just worked well with an all-girl group like the Bengals. But for me, on this particular track, the Bengals version, I've always liked the track. I still will listen to it at any time that it's on today, and I give that particular track an 8 because it's just so, for me, it has the mystique of Alexander Nevermind having written it. And it's awesome to know that and to have that in the back of my mind when I hear that track. The Prince version, a little bit less than that. It's a 7. There are no bad tracks on this whole album, this whole Originals album. And but this is a 7 for me.
All right. Just to throw in, I know that otherwise they'll try to tear you apart in the comments. This was Prince wrote this as Christopher. Right.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no.
That's right. You're right. Right. Alexander Nevermind was for Sheena Easton, wasn't it?
I believe
yes.
So. Sugar Wall.
I was Sugar Wall.
Okay. Redeemed.
Big Sexy.
I took an opportunity to go pull out my Prince in the Purple Rain era studio sessions. Shout out to Dwayne Tudall.
Shout out.
This thing, again, this is Prince writing and singing a song from a female perspective. A lot of great songwriters will challenge themselves to do that. Well, can I write a song from a female perspective? Writers as vast as Lionel Richie to Bow-Legged Lou have done this because they come from that perspective. Oh, those are my boys.
That's fine.
And for Prince to do this, to write a song that isn't for him, and he was going to give it to Apollonia 6. And again, I am not ripping Apollonia, but he's probably thinking, you know what, she can't pull this off. I don't want to essentially waste this on somebody who can't pull it off. And at the time, he was rumored to be involved with Susanna from the Bengals. So, yeah, I could see where he would give it to them. And they did add a little bit to it, but I'm not ripping them either. I like the Bengals, but they didn't add that much. This was pretty much a done deal. And from what I read recently, Prince was one of these cats that if I give you a song and you change arrangements and do something I don't like, guess what? I'm taking it back. So I'm sure he liked what they did with it, and they didn't add too much, but I like how he did it, and I like how he did it from that perspective. And again, he didn't do it as a goof. He just wanted to challenge himself, like, Bow-Legged Lou, Babyface, cats like that do. And I think it's a great song. Why are you laughing at Bow-Legged Lou, man?
No, I just never heard anybody compare. And I like Bow-Legged Lou. I never heard somebody say, man, you got Lionel Richie and Bow-Legged Lou.
Okay, please.
Full Force.
Okay. I need y'all to remember, I'm a youngin, so please.
Here we go.
Don't toss me aside. Who is Bow-Legged Lou?
Family.
No, that's a good question. Remember? Have you heard of the group Full Force?
Oh,
yes.
He was one of the members of that. If you've ever seen the movie, which I'm sure you have, House Party, he was that guy. I'll kick your fucking ass.
Mm-hmm. God damn it. Yes.
Okay.
I didn't know none of their names. I just knew it was Full Force.
Yeah. It's so funny because to me, it's such an older. You never hear anybody say bow-legged nowadays, but I don't know, when I was a kid, he bow-legged. Yeah. That's an old school term.
That's old school burn right there.
Yeah. All right. But with that said, Pooh, man, what'd you think of the song?
I'm going to try my best not to shade anyone. I've heard the Apollonia version. Enough said. The Bangles version, I really love it. I love their vocals. I thought they took that song, they owned it. It went to number 2. To this day, I listen to it and I enjoy it. And it's no shade on what they did with it. No, they're not as good as singers as Prince. And I mean, how many people can really match up to him? I really love the song. Not that Prince gave a much better vocal performance. I think they're even, but it's the way he sung it. It just seems like the Bangles song is, to me, if you listen to the lyrics, it's totally opposite to how they're singing. It feels like it's really upbeat, they're happy. But if you listen to the lyrics, you're like, why is she so fucking happy singing this song? Her man ain't got a job, but he's smashing her till the middle of the night, and she missed. It's kind of like a country song. Like how much effed up stuff can happen to her, but the way it's kind of a joyous and infectious song. Whereas Prince's version, it's kind of a downer, just a little bit. And I like that how it differentiated from what was ultimately released and how he first envisioned this song. So to me, I'll probably listen to the Bangles song more, but I really like that he had a different vocal interpretation of how this song was going to be done.
All right. And for me, I was a fan of the Bangles version, because it was, like on MTV all the time. And I never actually got the record, back in the day, but it was just one of those songs I knew from watching TV a lot, on MTV. But I always loved it, and I always got the kick that, man, like Prince wrote that. I was like, and at first, back then, I couldn't really hear the Prince in it. And I was like, it doesn't sound like anything he's done at this point. But as I've heard the bootlegs and stuff, and listening to it now, I can he was doing something different, but I can kind of hear the Prince-ness of it. And I just think it's a great song. I would say, to me, I love the fact that I love storyteller Prince. And I like the story that he's telling in here. I get a chuckle out of it because to me, I find it funny. I was like, he's talking about like citizen type stuff, like going to work and getting, I was like, what do he know about getting up and going, being late and got to answer to the boss? But yeah, that's a great writer or songwriter can get in the shoes and lifestyles of other people. And I thought he just really nailed that here. It's a great story. It's something that we can all relate to. It's like, oh, here comes Mondays. I was like, this is a catchy song. It's one of those songs that people probably heard and have no idea Prince had anything to do with it, but it's just one of those great pop songs, the 20th century. And then of the 80s. So I think it's great. And listening to him sing it, I love it. I love being able to hear, and I love that. It's just something. I think I like what you said, and there's something sad about that, but in a good way. It's just kind of a melancholy type of thing. It's like, it kind of make me sit back and, yeah, I relate to this. This is what I'm going through. So to me, it's just the genius of Prince. This is one of those songs that just speaks.
It's a stormy day song.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so love it. All right. Next up is Noon Rendezvous, one of the many Sheila E. songs on this album. I'm going to keep mine brief here. I used to listen to that second Sheila E. album all the time. This song was on there. Listening to this now, I always wonder, and I hope I can answer this one day, if Sheila, was she intimidated to have to do this song? Because listening to this, I'm like, this ain't like some, pop ditty or funk jam. This, like, you're going to have to sing. Like, this is one of them slow Prince type songs. I can clearly hear him doing this and be like, yeah, this is the shit. But I wonder, she's like, wow, I don't know. You want me to do this one? Like, you ain't got another toy box or something? Because I just like, wow, this song, you got to get in the booth. So I dig it. I do wonder about the production or mix of this particular version that we're hearing, because obviously on the album version of Sheila's, there was some other drumming going. But even as I listen to this, it sounds as if at certain points in the song, they're muting out certain things and just isolating his voice. I like that, but I'm very curious, are we really hearing the version he recorded, or are they like, or do they have to, and that's a question I would have about some of these songs, do they have to do some tweaking, or, how these things are mixed? Or is this the version that he gave to Sheila as a reference, or did they actually pull back some things in this? And I would ask that on a couple of other songs coming up too. You can slightly hear certain things sort of bleeding through. I don't know if it's bleeding through his speakers and you hear it in the mic, but I'd just be very curious. But I dig this. And actually this song is also the live version of this, right? On that birthday show at First Avenue, which for me is the ultimate version of this song. But I do love this. Day Dropping, go ahead.
Yeah. I heard Sheila's version out of curiosity after having heard the birthday show version, the live version. I knew of the track, I just never really heard it. So I looked for it and I liked it. And I believe my comment way back when on that one was that it was sweet. It was a sweet, cute song. Sung in a way by Sheila, like she was, just not necessarily pining, but just kind of like, oh, I really like this guy type of attitude, And although I know the lyrics say otherwise, but that's how it seemed to be presented by her. This particular version of it here, this is, as far as I'm concerned, it's a Day Dropping track. Because this track, oh man, you put this one out there and dedicate this one to somebody, there's going to be something dedicated back. And it's going to be nice. This version here, less is more. I like that if they did mute stuff out, I'm okay with it. I'd be interested to hear how a full mix of this would have sounded. But I like that it's as sparse as it is. And, relative to Sheila's version, I give her version of it because it's a nice track, cute track, and all. It's a solid 6, maybe a 7, probably a 6. This version of it from Prince, I give it a 9. But I'd be remiss to once again repeat that that birthday First Avenue version with the extended part on it at the end, that's a 10 plus. But this is a standout track for me on this album.
All right. Pooh.
Did you say you ain't got another toy box in there?
He did.
Now, shoot me later. This has been a skippable track for me on the Sheila album. And, it's not because of production so much. Hearing the production, it definitely is something that I can get into. But, the vocals and the lyrics really didn't, catch me. And unfortunately, it might be a theme here, but my God, I know you shouldn't speak ill of the dead, but seriously, Prince, what the fuck were you thinking? My God, he should have kept this, and this should have been at least the B-side, at the least, if not a full release, because this is giving me How Come You Don't Call Me Anymore, because it's very, like you said, it's very sparse, very minimalist, and it's just piano and his vocals, a little other stuff added in, but really his vocals with that falsetto and that piano, it's a whole, for me, this is a whole new song. No disrespect to Sheila E., but that version doesn't exist to me anymore. This song just sometimes, again, you were seeing the genius of Prince. It's much like the piano and the microphone, where we're seeing, an intimate look at him. We're seeing it here. I don't know how early on in the process this song was created, but just him at a piano and falsetto, like, this is I almost want to say this is kind of a masterpiece song, because I just love his vocal performance on this, and it's great to me. And now this is gonna be added to my playlist, just like Love and Sex is added to mine. This was there as well.
Love and Sex, I love that. All right, Big Sexy.
All right, according to Mr. Dwayne Tudall, this was recorded on February 13th, 1984 at Sunset Sound, and according to their records, Apollonia was supposed to be singing this. She didn't.
Ooh.
Oh, well.
Oh, bullet dodged.
And furthermore, Sheila says that they wrote this together, and when Prince was working on her first album, they needed more music, so they put this on there, and this was recorded in 6 hours. Yeah. 4 hours for the music, 2 hours to mix it. Amazing. And again, I just got a co-sign when Ed said he should have kept this one. And just like Dey Dropping said, B-side in the vein of How Come You Don't Call Me Anymore. Damn. Opportunity missed. Because I think Glamorous Life, the song, was such a monster, a lot of the other stuff on that album got overlooked. And this was one of them. I like this song from way back when, but again, birthday version is the definitive version of the song. It's a great song. And I'm glad I have a studio version of it now to go with my import version.
Right. Man, let me say this before we go to the next song. And this is one of those songs that speaks to us. Man, Prince really loved him some women, man, because
yeah, he did.
Mm-hmm. Yes, he did.
he gave a lot of sisters here some banger songs. Like, could have easily been, like, as we said, could have just been big hits I put on his album, but he gave these ladies some remarkable tracks. Like, it's just, and this has been throughout his career, but just to see in the early days, like, man, just crazy. And the fact that he can, like, oh, you need another song let me go here and get in the booth and get it popping, like, just magical, man. Dude was on some other stuff. I love it. All right, moving on. Next track is Makeup. And this may be one of the earlier recorded songs of on here. There may be one that predates it possibly, but this goes all the way back to 81, if I'm not mistaken. But this was on the Vanity 6 album. And to be quite honest, for me, the Vanity 6 album only consists of 2 songs. I've always said that this is my own personal listening. My number one song was If a Girl Answers, Don't Hang Up. That's my jam.
Yeah.
The music on that, I mean, all those they talk, but the music was ridiculous. That almost could have been a time jam. But anyway, and then of course Nasty Girl. It's a head buster jam. He right out the gate, he gave them bangers. But this song was on here. I would always sort of flip past these, but listening to this, I get it. Like, I'm like, okay. Back in them days, there was this particular style, there's craft work and all the electro stuff. And to hear Prince's takes on this stuff, this takes me back to, like, Controversy, all the like something like All the Critics, 1999. But what's the song? Annie Christian, Annie Cry. Like, he could just had a whole album of that style, but with the Prince's take on it. And this is actually just really takes me back to the 80s. Okay, that little freaky. It was kind of, it reminds me of Andre Simone a little bit too. Some of the stuff he ended up kind of doing back then. But I love this. This is a cool little something. I let it play. Like, I'll be like, okay, I dun. dun, dun, and it's that style. There's other songs that have this kind of style back then, but I could have easily seen cats in a little pop locking, and, you know, and getting it popping. Nick, what? That's how we used to do it.
Did you say that's how we used to do?
Well, I mean, I'll speak.
Please tell me this video.
I wish there was actually, but anyway, I like this. So far I like them all, but I really like this. Makeup is cool. This is a gem to hear. This is a timestamp on this, in my opinion. We'll go with Pooh. What are your thoughts?
When I first heard this on this album here, first of all, I thought, wait a minute, am I playing Mario Brothers? Did I just go down to the sewer pipe? That da-da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da. Y'all don't hear that?
Yeah, I got it.
But for real though, when I first heard this, I was like, what the hell is this? And I said, okay, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and listen to this because I might get invited on the show, so I gotta hear it through. And then I'm just hearing him throw these things, makeup. And I'm just hearing it over again. I'm like, I get this song. This song is kind of catchy. So I think I replayed it 3 straight times because I'm like, okay, do I like this? I'm like, I like this. And then I said, okay, who the hell was this song for? Vanity 6? I'm like, get the fuck out of here. No way, nah. I'm like, sure enough, it was on there and I heard it. And, you know, it's a little more produced, which we all know Prince likes to do that. He overproduces a song. So it's definitely not this here. But just overall, man, I'm like you said, he must really love these women, or he loves being with these women because he's just giving away these songs that are just unique and showing different layers to him. Hearing this song now, it feels like he's making fun of women, in my opinion. All the stuff they have to go through to try to look good to get his attention. And I think, yeah, I guess it sort of kind of worked for Vanity 6, but it damn sure works for Prince. And I loved it. This is in my rotation as well.
All right. Big Sexy.
To me, this is Prince channeling his Gary Newman Kraftwerk vibe. I could hear the new wave influence all over this, just like he did in All the Critics Love You in New York. That's the vibe I get from this. Not so much with the Vanity 6 version, but with this, I'm definitely hearing that that sparse controversy era new wave synth stuff he was into. And again, I like it. I didn't care for the Vanity 6 version because, you know, I'll take a demerit on that one. That was a skip for me. But this one is different because it does have that Kraftwerk, Gary Newman essence to it, and I like that.
All right. Dey Dropping.
Well, I'll take the big demerit on this one because I have never heard the Vanity 6 version of it. And at this point, I don't care to. This song takes over that. This track here takes over that track, and I haven't even heard it yet. So I've got no score for the Vanity 6 one. This one, when I first heard it, I think I had a similar attitude like what you did, Michael, with Loose. I had a similar thinking about this one. I was like, what? Record scratch, you know, and then I had to go back on that. But hearing it over and over again, this is one hell of a grower track right here, man. It's a track that belonged like on a movie like early 80s crazy movies like Body Double or something. It belonged in that movie somewhere. You know, it's got that crazy wild, you know, 1980s style dance, you know, club vibe to it.
You know what? I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. You know, this is what one of those those clothing montage scenes that this song would be perfect for.
Yeah, it's so crazy, you know, this track right here, and it's got that cold lines to hold my cigarette. I'm not ready yet. I'm like, oh shit, man. I love that. And you know what? Okay, so we've had different categories, right? We had the Dey Dropping track. We had Sap, Silly Ass Prince, and the funky stuff. This one goes in its own category. That's an own category for this one. I introduced, coming back here doing a review, a new category. This is the Good God category. And this goes right in there. this is as far as I'm concerned, this is crazy. Until I get tired of it, which I probably won't. I like hearing crazy shit like this. This is a 10 for me. This is wild and nuts, and I could put this one on repeat. It's one of those. To me, this is some classic Prince shit that he was doing back in the day, and man, this is no words, no more words. Done.
All right, say no more. All right, moving on to the next one is 100 Miles an Hour, and there were a couple songs on this album. And I saw the track list. I was like, I gotta hear this. This was one of those songs where I gotta hear. This might have been the second or third song that I played because I kind of jumped around at first. And let me say, let me put on my Prince snob hat for a quick second. Try not to wear that. The bootleg version that has been floating around for years of this song is one of my joints. It's incomplete because the quality, you've been fighting with the quality over the years. And then there was a version that came out that was very, very decent and was in there. But, you could tell it was a demo because it was really short. But it was like, damn, this is just a jam. Like, I imagine if Prince was to offer this to me, I'd be like, nigga, yes. So I was like, are they going to have a studio quality sounding version of that? They gave us the more produced version of this, which I'm not mad at because at least I can still go and listen to that other version. But I can respect that they didn't want to give us the same old stuff we heard. So this version is more produced than that bootleg version, but you can hear everything. And this shit is funky as hell. This was one of those kind of songs that I remember when Maserati came out, and I was like, they have some cuts on here, and I always could figure out, like, how come they're not bigger or they didn't blow up? And there might be a multitude of reasons for that, but it can't be because of the music. And so even to hear Prince do this, I think these songs, his voice, that's how they're supposed to be. I don't know if he made this with them in mind or this is just one of his joints he just had in his back pocket, in case he just had to slap that on somebody, slap him across the face with some funk. But this thing is banging to me, still banging. It felt so good to I put my phone in the car and hooked up to my system and had this banging in the car. I was like, man, I've been waiting years for this. So I love this song. Love it. It sounds like Prince. It's jamming, boom, 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 boom. I'm like, man, this could have been like a time song with some of the stuff toned down a little bit, but it's just one of them type of songs. Like, this is banger, man. It's a banger joint. So I love it. Dey Dropping.
Yep, I agree with you 100%, Mike. This version here, I like the fact that this particular version is, you can hear the music a lot more on it, the different tones, even the bam, 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 bam. It almost echoes on it, that is so pronounced, and it needs to be. That's that, and the bass line are the driving sounds of this track. And I originally when I first heard Maserati version, I thought it was okay, but for me that version was always hindered by the fact that I had heard and had completely adored the old bootleg version of 100 miles per hour, which at the time would have been very, very high or very high generation, or however you would say it, cassette copy, and it just sounded horrible. But even that horrible sounding version in terms of quality was better than the Maserati one, bringing that one down. And as such, I always given the Maserati version a 6. Good song, but it doesn't hold a candle to that original bootleg that we all know. Then you get this, and it's much more polished, but in a way that brings out, like I said, the parts of the songs that I want to hear and that I feel should be more pronounced. I asked internally, I want this to sound like this and like that, and with this track, that's what I got. So I'm very pleased with this one. This one is a 9 for me. It's, I follow up Makeup with 100 miles an hour. Whew, man, you're barely slowing down. You're barely slowing down going from that one track to this one. So this one is a 9. The Maserati one's a 6. Or the Prince original one, original bootleg one's probably closer to an 8, just because it's just funky. So yeah, that's my scores on it.
All right, Big Sexy.
I am embarrassed to admit that I have never heard the Maserati version of this song. I don't have their album. I am not familiar with their catalog. This song, and I'm going to get mail on this, but I expected more. You know, I expected to be grabbed in the manner like I was grabbed with Jungle Love or something like that. And this one, maybe it'll grow on me, but this one just doesn't hit with me.
Oh, interesting. Okay. You kept it honest. I can dig that. That was a Q-Storm. Wrong show. Man,
Anthony.
Pooh. My bad. Yes. I'm all over the place. I've been drinking on this. The Bud Light Orange is starting to settle in, but go ahead.
Bud Light. Come on, man. Anyway, I've heard the release Maserati version, and I love the production, the instrumentation, the music on there. But the vocals was just kind of lagging to me. And I've heard the I guess, I don't know, the demo or the unreleased bootleg version with Prince. And I'm like, damn, if they could just somehow combine forces and Voltron unite, that would be awesome. And they gave it to us. And somehow, in my opinion, I feel like the production is even better than what Maserati put out. I don't even know how. And, you know, he's singing it. He's Prince's vocals on this one. I feel like this was going to be put on an album, and he somehow just ended up giving it to somebody else. Because to me, it feels that complete, that finished, that polished. And we said this when we reviewed the Plectrum Electrum album. Mark, I think you remember. I said, you know, Endorphin Machine would be my wrestling interest theme. When I heard this, I was like, you know what? I might have to take that back. I might have to come out to the ring to this song, because that's how banging I think this song is.
Nice. All right. Yeah, that's 100 miles per hour. Definitely got to add that to the playlist. Okay. Here's the next one. This is You're My Love. This song first drops. This is one I've never heard before. I mean, you know, the word was this was a Kenny Rogers. I have not went to go search out the Kenny Rogers version. I just wanted to hear it for the first time as a Prince song. And when I heard play on it, I was like, I was like, let me listen to this. And it starts coming on. I'm like, okay. And then his vocal comes in. You're the one. I was like, whoa, what's going on here? I did not expect this. I ain't never heard this. I ain't never heard no inclination of it. I was a little dumbfounded. I was like, wow. The way he's singing this. So is my man trying to do like on some kind of low-key Michael McDonald? I love you. That was a little more. Like, break down, baby. Let me stop. But
It came from somewhere back long ago.
Yeah, I was like tripping. I was like, wow, I have this one. As Ernie said earlier, I gotta take my time with this. Listen. Mm-hmm. I love this song now, but this is one of those Prince songs that you ain't. I'd be surprised if right off the gate you'd be like, yeah. You're like, whoa, I don't, because this is out of left field. Like you're not expecting this, and it goes back to the old school when Prince would drop them records back in the day, and a lot of the stuff you'd be feeling, but there'd be a couple something. Whoa, what's this? What's the kid doing, man? What's Prince doing? And then it hits you as you start. It's a grower, like, and I'm gonna let him speak on it. But this is one of the jewels of the album. Okay, this is one of those. This is for the hardcore. This is for y'all done had everything. You ain't got this, and we ain't ever. I mean, again, you might have heard the Kenny Rogers, but this was great to me. I'm glad that they put this on there. I love this track. I went back and read up on this. there's more to be heard on this. We need to hear. So apparently this song dates back from 82, but apparently there is a version that was recorded with an orchestra in 86.
Get the hell out.
We need to hear that.
Wow.
We need to hear that. As it says, it says he must have pulled it back out of the vaults in 85, did a mix on it in Sunset Sound. Then it says May 9th of 86, orchestra overdubs.
Now, do you think he kept the same vocal performance on that 86 version?
I wouldn't be surprised. See, that's the thing. I don't know what we're listening to. I have not seen the liner notes for this, and hopefully the liner notes for this album has great information. I'm curious what version this is. Is this the 82 and then is mixed, or did they pull those tracks out? I'm very curious. So I have no idea. I do now want to go listen to the Kenny Rogers version, because I did not know this, but apparently,
nah, you really don't.
Well, the only thing I was gonna say, because the Barge sings background vocals, and that trips me out. Yeah, so I'm like, my man had L, like what? Like I always like, man, would love to hear either one of these guys do one of their other songs. Like I remember, I'm gonna go for a second. I remember when before Emancipation came out back in the AOL days, in the chat rooms, the Paisley Park chats on the Sunday nights. You can argue and fight me if you think that was Prince or not, but I remember when Prince and them would get on the chat room, and I remember they were asking us what songs should he do as covers. And I was like, yo, do I like? I was throwing like, do some El DeBarge, dude. Like, it would be crazy if you sang some of his songs. So the fact that I always got a kick to think of El DeBarge and Prince. Now, my mind escapes me. I know there is a Prince song that El DeBarge did do on that one album. I can't think of it right now. It would have been interesting if they put this on here as well. And I know some people in the audience are going to put that in the comments, but I just get a kick of El DeBarge and some Prince stuff. I just thought that would have been kind of cool. But anyway, I say all that to say is this song is very unique, great. I love to hear the history behind this, but I'm going to go to Big Sexy now.
To me, this is Prince getting out his songwriting chops, and production-wise, this is Prince getting his Steely Dan, Ambrosia 70s soft rock out, because that's what it sounds like. Vocally, it's like Mike said, this is a whole new delivery for him, and he wrote this for Kenny Rogers, but I could see someone like Keith Urban, or what's that man's name, McGraw, taking this to the country realm and doing some damage. This just shows his strength as a songwriter. And again, when you take away the visuals of Prince that we all know, I could see him doing this on like an old school variety show. Ladies and gentlemen, song stylings of Prince, and sitting on a stool just belting this out, with no heels, no, lace, just belting it out. And again, that shows his versatility and strength as a songwriter. This is a great song, and it's a great production. I haven't heard the Kenny version, but if I'm a country artist right now, on the low, I got my people on the phone getting me this to get it out there.
Yeah, and just to add, the El DeBarge song, or the Prince song that El did, was called Tip of My Tongue. And just to clarify, it was Claire Fisher did the orchestration or overdubs for this song. So I don't know how they don't put that version or it's like listen, they can have as many tracks on these releases as they want. Y'all can put that on there, because they said it was a tribute to Prince and Revolution, that original version. So we need to hear that. Brent, holler at me if you got a copy. I need to hear that. But and Pooh, what's your thoughts on it?
This song was somewhat a revelation. I don't think I've ever heard Prince sing in this deep of a vocal range, and at the same token, it's like you can feel the emotion behind his vocals and how he's performing it. And I just like, it's something totally different than what I've heard before. On top of that, this song was a revelation period, because I'm like, I never knew there was a song like this. And more so, Kenny Rogers, the country singer Kenny Rogers, did this song. I just was like, wow. But overall, I think it was like the third verse where you started getting the old Prince, his vocal range went higher, and at the same time he started doing that, my love, your love, your love, and I'm just like, okay, there we go, there's Prince right there. But I like the fact that here's a song in that we haven't seen from him, and we didn't think that he put out, and it just again shows us how diverse he was when it came to creating music, when it came to his songwriting, and now more so to how he even sings a song. So yeah, this is definitely one of the highlight tracks on this album. And I don't know if the Prince estate is listening. There's hints that they definitely are. Yeah, more of that. Show us. I understand it's a business, you got to make your money, but for the hardcores who were buying up anything y'all put out, like me, put more of this out.
I can dig it. Day Dropping.
Yeah, I got to agree with what Pooh said on that. This track and tracks like this are required to be released, because it just shows you just the versatility of this guy and what he was able to do. I don't believe there's any other track released now that has this kind of delivery on it. It's very, very, very unique in that way. And when I first heard it, it's a challenging track, which is in and of itself a great thing. Again, another reason why I like this album. This album challenges you as well. And like you were saying, Mike, back in the day, when Around the World in the Day came out, everybody was challenged, and it separated everybody. This is the type of track that would separate a lot of folks as well, and that's a challenging thing. I like that, because when I first heard this, if I start playing this for the very first time, and 4.5 minutes later, you ask me what to score the track, I give it a 6. I'm like, no, I don't like it. I don't like it. But I that would have been bad of me, because there's a lot going on here. His delivery's nice, the music's nice, way better than the version that Kenny Rogers, ultimately released. He really changed up a lot of stuff on it. That was almost like two completely different songs, in my opinion. I don't like his version. I won't score his, because I really don't care for his version of it at all. So it'd be unfair to score that. And it is quite different. If you go and hear his version, you'll see what I mean. It almost is a completely different type of song. I've heard Kenny Rogers' version before, way back when I was little, but I didn't know. Of course, I had no idea that Prince had wrote it or anything like that. This track, though, it's a grower of a track. So again, upon first listen, it's a 6. It's climbed its way up to being an 8. It's an 8+ now, because of that little tidbit of finding out that Elle was involved in this, because I didn't know that. So that just makes it even more wild. It's an 8 and counting. Next week, it'll probably be a 9. This is the gem of this release, or one of them anyhow. And it's not one to be overlooked. For anybody first listening to this, if they have not listened, if they hear this review and they haven't heard this album yet, don't be silly and think that this particular track is a throwaway track and that it's not good. It is good. You gotta be able to allow yourself to be challenged by this, and take it in, hear it a couple of times, and you're going to recognize the greatness of the track.
All right. Yes, I co-sign. Everything's set. All right. We're going to move on. Man, we were 7 songs deep, and head busters.
Yeah.
All right. Number 8 is Holly Rock. Holly Rock. Real quick, I'm going to keep mine brief. This song came out originally back when the movie Crush Groove came out. Boy, when was that? When did Crush Groove come out? That was like in
85.
85. God, I remember Opening day. When the movie came out. I saw that movie and saw it 3 times in a row. That's how deep it was into Crush Groove. Like, we just sat in the seats and did not get out and just sat for 3 showings. But anyway, this song is on the soundtrack and featured in the movie, performed by Sheila E., who was cool back in the day. You know, I had the album. And oh, yeah, Sheila, they got Sheila on here. That's cool. But this right here, banger, certified head buster. Prince destroys this track. I didn't think it was going to be about nothing. I was like, oh, I've heard this song before. That's cool. Blew away my expectations. Funky as all hell. The sound quality is excellent. Prince is on fire on this song. Listening to it again this morning, I was listening to it off the headphones or just through the speakers. I question this song as well in terms of the mixing. There are things he starts to say later in the song. I don't know if they're like other little raps. You can barely hear him start to say them, and then it fades him out. And I'm curious. I don't know if they're pulling him back in the mix or if he's recording this sort of in a live type of atmosphere and he's just walking away from the microphone. It's very interesting. And I don't know if you guys heard these either, but if you actually listen closer to the song, you can hear him, giving directions. I don't know if this is a band performance or it's him doing these parts. You can hear him talking and stuff, and they kind of pull it back. But you can also hear him kind of doing these other little rap sort of things he's about to go into, or the way he's kind of doing on the song, and they pulling it back. And I'm curious what is really going on with this song in terms of what they had to work with. But this is classic Prince to me. The way it ends is that this is that Prince I love. This era here, the way he be talking, the shit talking, and I love how it ends. Like, let's see him dance to that. Like, y'all not ready for what I love that Prince, man. So this is, and I was surprised I enjoyed this as much. This is fire, man. Woo. Aunt Pooh.
Yeah, when I remember this from Crush Groove, of course. For some reason, I had no idea Prince had anything to do with this. I really believed Run DMC put this together with Sheila E. And, at the time, because, I was new to rap, I thought, yeah, okay, this is dope. Yeah, it's all right. Because, I wasn't seeing much of this. Over the years, when I would hear this, I would just be like, yeah, I'm over it. But hearing this here, this gave me Sexy MF vibes. It was a jam. This felt like a jam session. And he was just messing around with lyrics. And he found stuff to put to get a song out of here. But you're really, and I'm not trying to discredit the songwriting whatsoever. You're really turning this on to hear Prince and whoever's in that studio with him jam the hell out. And he delivers. I think it's 6 minutes? And to me, it's not long enough. Yeah, we get Prince vocals on this, but I think ultimately what we're getting here is just a whole new version of this song that I'm enjoying a lot.
Right. Yes. Day dropping. Oh, no day dropping. He dropped out. Big Sexy.
Just like Ant said, this to me sounds like a band deal because near the end you hear Prince pull one of his instruments. Everybody stop on the one. And they stop. I could hear Eddie M's saxophone. And to me, it's like Ant said, this is one of these songs that could have been done in concert forever. Could have been one of those songs that at the end of the show, like a second encore, you just let the band just run. And you can like insert other little pieces in this and then get back to this groove. And as far as the rap portion that you mentioned, according to the Dwayne Tudall book, that was taken from Feline, actually, and inserted into this. I don't know if this was the beginning of that transition, but just sticking it to this performance, 6:38, not long enough. The band was on fire. Now, other than Eddie M, and I'm just guessing that's him by the tone of his sax. Whoever else was in there that day, they brought their A game, because you know how Prince was in the studio. You can't keep up. You got to go. And this was a jammer. This is a vibe I wanted off of 100 Miles, which I didn't get, but I'm getting it here. I love this.
Yes. Now, Dey Dropping, are you back with us? Oh, we have some technical difficulties. He seems to be in the room. He might have had to mute or something. Hopefully he's okay. All right. Well, we're going to have to keep moving. Man, the greatness continues. Next up is Baby, You're a Trip. This originally was on the Jill Jones Paisley Park album. Listen, after you listening to Holly Rock, and then it goes into this, and when it kicks in, I was just like, shit. I was like, oh man, they going to church and all kind of stuff. There he is. Dey Dropping, you back.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let me let you speak on Holly Rock before we continue.
Oh, it'll be quick. Yeah, it was going to be a quick one anyhow. Basically, everything you guys have said. I mean, there's not much more to add to it. It's a crazy track. I too wish it was a lot longer. I'm glad that it's the longest track on this whole album. But the original, I thought it was funky and fun. The original's a 7. Prince's version, it's a 10. This is wild. This is Prince. If he isn't doing it live, he knows how to fake doing it live, because this is just funky shit right here. It's good stuff.
All right.
There you go.
Go ahead. Oh, okay. Well, let's go. So, Baby, Your Trip. Dey Dropping. Go ahead and speak your piece on this one as well, please.
Okay, so Baby, Your Trip. I like Jill Jones' version of it. Her delivery is real good. It almost sounds, she is like the female Prince singing this version here. It's almost identical, but he's got an extra flair to it. You kind of started up on it, it has very strong gospel feel to it. And I've always liked this track. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's pretty much the bootleg track that we've heard, right?
I believe so. Yeah, just a better quality.
Yeah, it's just much, much better quality than what we've heard. Recent. Well, I mean, at least maybe 2-3 times better than what we've heard last of this, and that only makes it better. I like the song. I think it flows. It's another good song to listen to, like on a rainy day or when things are calm, and it's very much a mood type of song, and I like that. Prince was on something when he did this one, man. He was channeling his inner church with this one, and I like that. It works. I haven't always been the biggest fan of church style music from Prince, but with this one here, I'm 100% behind it. Baby, You're a Trip by Jill Jones, a 7. The Prince version, solid 8.
All right. Let me just jump in with mine real quick. I heard this song many times before. Of course, I'm a big fan of the Jill Jones album, and great hearing this. I just feels like this is a more like stripped down, probably the original's version of this. And I love Prince's performance, but I also really love Jill on the backgrounds. There's a certain part where Jill is doing like the harmony sort of stuff on it, and toward the end, like the Baby, You're a Trip. It just sounds so good. Like, this is just a great record to me. I love this style. I appreciate that it was placed on Jill's album. Again, it's just one of those types of things where it's just like, man, he has burners. Like, he wasn't just giving out like trash or throwaways. It's not throwaway song. It's like, this is a dope ass song. Like, I could actually see Prince doing this song in the later years, like live or something. Like, to me, it sounds like a more mature Prince, as I could hear him doing this, even just years ago. This would have been a great live type of song. It just really works, and this is another great performance. I love it. Big Sexy.
Not to floss too much, but last week I heard Jill sing this song live.
Ooh.
And she did not miss a step. The voice is still there, and the eyes are still there. You look her in the eyes, you're lost. But enough about last week. This is like the second or the other side of the same coin. If Jill's version is one side, this is the other. They are both equally great and yet different. You know, I love them both. Prince went to work on this thing, and it was like, I don't know if this was the guide vocal. I don't know how this one came about, but it was almost like a game of top this. You know, maybe Prince laid it out and said, look, I want it done like this. And she's like, okay. And then she did her thing. And it's like, okay, well, let me try this again. And both are amazing. This one is a little more stripped down than hers. And I prefer that because it captures that vibe, that mood, like you said, the emotion of it. And I love this. Love it. This is another masterpiece here. And again, maybe this one he could have held back too. You know, a little B-side action on maybe Sign of the Times. Who knows? Who knows? But this was a great song.
All right.
I feel it on the Sign of the Times thing because his falsetto is pretty much on point with, pretty close to on point with The Door, especially towards the end.
Yeah, it can work on multiple levels on different projects, but it's just a great song, man. Gosh. And Pooh, I'm sorry, you spoke on this one, right?
No. I remember listening before I got introduced to Mr. Michael Dane. I remember you listening to one of your shows, and you talked about how Prince gave Jill Jones a banger of an album. And I went and listened to it. I loved Mia Boca, and that was kind of about it.
Violet Blue?
Oh. I know. Clearly, I have some more maturing to do. Because the fact that I feel a little misogynistic as well as some maturing, because the fact that a man had to sing this song, and yes, that man is Prince. It is his song, and Prince has, in my opinion, one of the best vocals ever. For me to go back and hear Jill Jones' version and be like, God damn. I'm like, how did I say, nah, I'm just going to keep listening to Mia Boca when this song existed there? Jill, and I'll get back to the Prince, but credit to Jill Jones, because it is hard, in my opinion, to take a Prince written, produced track and sing your ass off on it and make it yours, especially when 22 years later, after his untimely death, they put out his original version of it. And I can, without any question, say, you know what? These are even. And that's no shade or no slight to either one of them. Now, the one thing I will say where Prince might pull ahead just a tad bit is between the first chorus into the second verse. On Jill Jones, there's a horn. Yeah, she hits a high note and levels off, and then there's a horn, and then it picks back up into Jill singing again. On Prince's version, he sings it, hits the high note, holds it, then goes right into the song. And I'm like, that's a bad motherfucker right there. So yeah, this is unquestionably, if there's no, well, I can't say that, but you must not skip this song on this track. You have to listen to it.
I agree. Excuse me. All right, the next track is another classic song. Prince fan or not, you've heard the song "The Glamorous Life." Sheila E.'s signature song. I love that this is on here because, again, it's one of those songs that everybody has probably heard in some capacity, and I think is a great example, Dey Dropping said earlier about sort of the education part of this album, where you might be talking, oh, I know you like Prince and stuff, but what's so great about Prince? Oh, well, have you heard Glamorous? Like, oh, yeah. Check this out. Boom.
Yeah.
Head blown. Like, what? Yeah, he wrote. So it's one thing to tell somebody he wrote that song, but it's another when you have receipts. They could have called this album Receipts. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Why is Prince great? Receipts. Here's the receipts. But for him to play this again, it's such a song that people know, and it doesn't sound weird. It's like, yo, this is legit. This is just as jamming as what When Prince is singing this? Yeah, he wrote. Oh, shit, okay. He's a bad man. Watch your mouth. Don't talk about Prince. No. So, yeah, man, just an example of this guy was a freaking genius, man. He had hits on deck, and he had so many where he could give them to the next person and make your career off of it. Like, this is what you're going to be known for. You know what I'm saying? This is your thing. Most people, when you think of this song, you think of Shalee. But now we have the OG to show, like, yo, this, yeah, I did that. You know, oh, you need that? Yeah, let her have that. And the cool part about it, and this is the story that I would love to hear. I know they've been doing press, but I would love to hear, like, Apollonia and them, like, because, yo, this was supposed to be y'all's song for a second. Like, how does it feel, like, seeing these bangers going to other people and stuff? It's just very interesting. But, yeah, the glamorous life, the kid did that. You know what I'm saying? Like, he did that. So, Big Sexy, man, I'll start with you.
You know, this is one of those songs that when you heard it, you knew immediately it was a hit. Immediately. I didn't know this was his back in the day. I just had heard it and seen the video. I knew about Sheila because, you know, she's a Bay Area person, as am I, so I knew all about her. I didn't know she was going to step out front and take the lead on something for once, because she had been playing in so many different, you know, groups as a session player or a background player. She stepped out front and turned it on fire. This was written back in '83, and it was written according to, you know, again, the Dwayne Tudal book. Warner's didn't know what Prince was doing, so he didn't want them to know what he was doing. Most of Purple Rain had already been shot, but he just had more music coming out of him. And he gave her this, and she is still eating well today off of this. I saw her play here a couple of years ago, and it's just one of those songs. Whenever it gets played, shuts it down. And again, he gave it away.
Yeah, man.
Great song, and he gave it away. The generosity is amazing with this cat. It really is.
Yes, and again, in a quantum in the quantum realm, one of those multiple timelines, they somehow the synergy was, let's slip in Sheila as one of the other performers at First Avenue, and she does this song. You know, just imagine.
There you go.
I mean, even though it was separated from Purple Rain, it still came out around that same time and still did what it did. But only imagine, like, if they would have somehow, she would have been one of the other. If they, in that quantum realm, they bumped Dez, and that brief scene, he was like, "Who's that? Oh, that's Sheila up there." Niggas lost their mind.
No for modern air. Yep.
Yeah, they were like, what?
They never released it, so why not?
I know, but anyway, Day Drop.
Yeah, you know, songs like "The Glamorous Life," "Sugar Walls," "I Feel for You," all tracks that I fell in love with as a kid. Had no idea that Prince sang them, and they were only elevated once I found out way later that he wrote those songs, and further elevated to find out that he recorded those songs beforehand and then gave them to the artist for them to work off of. And you know, it's wild. Now, "I Feel for You" isn't so much in that same vein because he did release that one, but you get the idea is that these are tracks that I had no idea. Like Big Sexy said, I had no idea he had written this. I had no idea he had recorded this. So to hear this version of it, I know we've already, chances are we've already heard this one already, but I mean, to hear it here now, it belongs in this collection, and it's a great song. It's on par with the original, which is a classic. It is required listening if you like that Minneapolis sound from the 80s. It's required to fall in love with this track and dig it the way anybody would. And for me, on this one, in the scoring on it, it is a dead tie at a 9 for both. And the reason why it's a tie at a 9, because one has one thing the other one doesn't. For me, Prince's version, like with I think was it Manic? No, not Manic. Like with Sex Shooter, Prince's version, I can understand the lyrics a hell of a lot better. I'm like, oh, is that what she's saying? You know, I just kind of mumbled the version, the song when I do my guide over it when Sheila's singing it. But with Prince, I can actually hear the lyrics and I can make them out and I know what he's saying and it makes sense. The lyrics make sense now. So on that aspect, he's got her beat. However, she got him on the musical part because she got that cool percussion going on, the Sheila E. percussion. And that is a driving force in that original track. And I feel that that's lacking in this one. I expect to hear it, and I think it needs it because it's got to have that little bit of Latin flavor to it. And because it just gives it that extra beat, that extra drive. So they're on par because of that. They best each other in that way. And I think that's awesome. So again, both of them, 9s, no problem with giving it a 9 to both.
Word. And just as you was talking, I just had another quantum realm thought. What if, and actually, well, there's two things. One, the quantum realm version of Purple Rain, you wouldn't have had Morris Day in the movie. You'd have had Sheila E. play Morris Day character.
What?
Yeah, she would have been the female version of him, and they would have both. See, this would have been the 2019.
Yeah, because I'm like, because Sheila's supposed to be going after Apollonia, but
that's what
that actually might work.
In 2019, Apollonia is so bad, men and women want her, and Sheila she's. And I was gonna say, I wouldn't be surprised if his intention, in some ways, was to position her to be a Morris Day-like character. Listen to what she's talking about, right? And her visual on the album and stuff. She's balling. You know,
Mike, stop it.
No, I mean, look at it. She's got the fur coat.
I'm saying stop it because maybe the wrong person from Warner may hear this and they're like, we got an idea for a remake of Purple Rain. We get Bruno as Prince.
I ain't going all that.
And we get Lady Gaga as playing Morris, and they both gonna be going after Rihanna's Apollonia.
Nah, I ain't going that far.
That's a little too far.
But I'm saying that I could easily see like it would have been Sheila was playing the Morris style, and they both were trying to get the girl. But that's a fantasy. But more reality, listen to the song and just looking at the visuals, the covers and stuff. I wonder, was he positioning like the original intention of Sheila E. is that she actually is like a Morris Day type of character? Persona, but a female version of that, because she's like high class. Same way with Morris, she's very boastful. Her album is essentially made up of the jams. There's a couple of slow songs, but most of them are, the 6 songs sort of thing. I always I never picked up on this before, but just looking at it now, I'm thinking, I wonder if he would be, you know what, Morris and them ain't acting right. Boy, I'll replace you with a lady to do the same shit and give her the cuts. I don't know. It seems like her visual presentation to us shifts on the second album. She's not more so this, the lady, the bad. She would see nowadays the baddest bitch. She's like this bad chick that she's flossed out. Now she was on some more regal fantasy Prince type clothing and presentation to us. But I'm just saying, if you look at that original way he has her presented on that first album, I think you could argue that she was almost like the female Morris.
Mm-hmm. Toy Box is an example of that.
Yeah. But anyway.
Well, if you remember the show or the tour, Purple Rain tour, she opened up, obviously. Mm-hmm. But there was a section where they did the slow song, the Wipe the Lipstick Off Your Collar. She had the fur coat on. Coat on and all that. Yeah, so you could say that.
Bring the dude up on stage.
Yeah, bring home.
Same thing when Morris did on Gigolos from their live performance when the time was open. But anyway, you're a fool for the remake with the. But they
just saying.
They probably could do it. They probably would do it. But anyway, and Pooh, what do you think of Glamorous Life?
For me, Sheila E. I like her vocals better than Prince on this song. But that being said, y'all probably gonna look at me with I like the sparseness of the music here. And I know Sheila does her things with the percussions, no denying, but for some reason I like the lack of it being here. But Prince what he does here is again, I don't feel the strong emotions to it. I don't feel the passion behind it that I sense with Sheila E. when she performed this song, and more. But up until the end, when he starts letting loose with the falsetto, so I like hearing it as a change of pace from the Sheila E. version. But just Sheila's vocals does it better for me, and I have to echo Ernie's sentiment because, when that shit was Sheila's version, I understood maybe every other word. I just knew I was jamming to Glamorous Life when the chorus came. But the other thing is, I think Mike might have said it, or maybe it was Ernie. He said, "Man, the generosity of Prince to give these songs to these people." I'm like, Psh, Prince got paid off this. Ain't no generosity.
I hear you.
No, this is true. Prince does retain the publishing.
Oh yeah,
and the songwriting credit, but still, people are eating well off that album. Yeah,
smart man. Okay, here we go. As I said earlier, there was a couple songs that I had to hear first when I got this album, and this was the first song. I was like, skip everything, and we're gonna start at what numbers is
11.
I gotta hear this first because anybody knows me, I'm a major Time fan. That Second Time album is one of my favorite albums of all time. This is one of my banger songs. I was like, okay, don't play around, Prince. You can't play around with this one now. And it comes on. It was that same fight I had. When I sing the song, when I hear the song, it is that Morris version.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful version. And he nails it. And still nails it. So when I hear this, I was like, okay. My mind's you like playing around with the vocals. Nigga, stop playing. You kind of playing around a little bit. But as I've been listening to this, I put it in the same mind as like, I assume this is made for Morris, right? This wasn't something he was like, with no way he was going to do this. So I feel like he's singing it in that same Jamie Starr-ish type of way he did like Jungle Up. And even still, after I've listened to it for a few more times in a couple of days, I was like, man, he's doing this thing. This song is still badass as a motherfucker. Like, no, you can't front on this. And I love Prince's version as much. Now, I will say this. Morris's version is the more polished performance, as it should be, because he has a template of what he's supposed to be doing. And in Morris's version, there are more inflections, if that's the right word, of the background vocals, and there's more stuff that Morris does than what Prince's does. In this particular song, I don't think Prince had any inclination that he was going to release this with his vocals like that, because I think the stuff that he would have went back and added is what they did with Morris's versions. And I also say, again, I would love to hear the story about how this song was mixed for this release, because I'm curious, are they dealing with the actual tracks of the song, and are they pulling back certain things? Because there's toward the end of the song, you can hear Morris's part sort of bleeding through, and Prince isn't singing on those parts. And I don't know why you can do that. I'm curious, were they like, it doesn't make sense to me. Is that just the recording that they had, and maybe it was just a 2-track recording, so they couldn't do any mixing on it, and you just had to play what they put out, what they had? But you can hear Morris. I assume that's Morris on some of the background parts later in the song that he sings over that you don't hear on this, but there's even a couple parts where you can barely hear Morris start to come in and sing the part, and then it all of a sudden pulls back. Which is just, I'm nitpicking because I know the song very well, but I'm just curious what the history or what's the story behind, what did it take to bring this stuff to 2019 would explain the interesting mixes that some of these songs have. And on a song like this in particular that I'm very much aware of, I'd just be very curious, but love this. This music was banging before, is banging now. This is to me a classic Prince song. Like, I know a lot of players, everybody, man, it's an easy money occupation. This is so cold. This is Prince at his coldest. Like any generation of real cats who listen to this and like, yeah, this is the cut. Playboy, put that back on. It just don't. And he was so in a pocket. I could go on and on, but this is my favorite off the album. Mm-hmm. I play this. I'll play this to the day I die. Love it. And Pooh.
Now, for me, I know I said with Jungle Love that Morris gave a better vocal performance. Here, once again, I got to speak ill of the dead. God damn it, Prince! Why did you give this away? Now, that's no disrespect to Morris in the time, because when I believe I first heard this in the late 90s, maybe 98, 99, off of LimeWire. And I was like, God damn, this is cold. And I've heard the sample because, big hip hop head. KD, he did Chickalos Get Lonely too as well. He was rapping most of the lyrics and that chorus and that beat. I'm like, yeah. And I've heard the sample that dun, 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 dun. I think there was a song called Stuck in the Game. That's probably more of a West Coast rap song that people probably don't know. But when I heard this, I was like, God damn. And at the same point, when I heard it the first time, I was like, damn, Morris, he actually got some decent vocals. I didn't think he could do a ballad, and damn, he's doing good. But for me, when I heard this, and I went into it like, nah, Prince is not gonna do this one justice. Because I listened to Jungle Love first, and I was a little disappointed with that. Y'all heard what I had to say about this. So when I got to this song, I was like, yeah, Prince ain't gonna do it. Man, he low-key takes this song back, in my opinion. The way that his vocal inflection, the way he's singing it, his swag is oozing. Christopher Tracy is on this track right here, and I'm just like, I've talked to a couple other people. They say the same thing. Like, Morris can't sing that song no more. That's how much people are digging this version, because it's just a. And I know people are going to hear the Jungle Love and just like, wow, that's their first look into this whole other side of Prince. Nah, this one here. And what I say is you got to listen to it, and it's perfect.
All right. I'm sitting here jamming out while you talking to us. It's crazy. Big Sexy.
I got to gear it up the title again because I was just listening to this myself on my desktop. And I noticed the drums are nice and deep. The guitars are a little louder. The synth is lower, but, whatever. The vocal performance is perfect. I don't know where to go with this, man. This song came out in 82 originally, and this one just updated it and took it out of the time lexicon and put it right back in Prince's. Just like he did when he did Cool on that one concert clip, same thing happened here. This belongs to me, gentlemen. I'll be taking it back. Thank you. And he did everything great about it. He sings where he needs to sing. He doesn't ad-lib too much. There's a lot of instrumental breaks that I like. And you get to hear the drums, you get to hear the guitar. This is a keeper. This is a keeper.
Yeah. The only thing I wish they could do, I'm nitpicking a little bit, I just wish they let it play a little longer. I know there's more going on after this. I had the suspicion that the version at the time, back in the day when they did it live and they did that breakdown part, I bet you that's the way I bet you that was in the actual song. Like the and that whole guitar part. You want to get lonely? I bet you that's the way the original song is recorded. I wish they could have just gone ahead and let us hear exactly what's going on after the fade, but maybe another day they'll do that. Day Drop and take us home on this.
Yeah, it'll be short and sweet. I mean, the original, it's a classic song. You would think you can't touch the original, and I scored that one a 9, but apparently you can if you're Prince. And he did, and I think it sounds more authentic when he sings it. It's great when Morris sings it. I like it better when Prince sings it. I give this one a 10. It's easy on the ears. and it's just an extremely satisfying song. Probably my favorite track of the entire album. Depending on the mood of the day, it's either number 1 or number 2. And this is a 10. This is a beautiful song, well done. It just somber when it needs to be, and pimp when it needs to be too. And I like it. I got nothing more to add to it. You guys pretty much nailed it on there. It's just a classic song. Now this is a classic song now.
All right, we have the next song here is interesting for a couple of different reasons. One, the first song, the song is "Love That Will Be Done." This came out on the Martika's Kitchen album, which I actually have. I bought this like maybe a couple years ago off of Amazon for like $3. So actually, I never owned the album. I love the song Martika's Kitchen, but this song was on that album. This dates back from like '91. One thing I didn't know, I was looking here on Prince Vault. This one, he actually re-recorded the song in '94, which I don't know if I actually heard that version. I can't think about it. But the other interesting part about it is, according to the press releases or the interviews about this song, this was the one song that Jay-Z insisted be included on this release, which I find fascinating. And I will say this, I want everyone to listen closely. To all of these so-called Prince fans out here who may not have heard of this song very well, when you fix your mouth to say, well, what is Jay-Z? He don't know no Prince. Remind yourself, Jay-Z fought for this song to be included on the project. So think about that.
Yeah.
You got to think about that. This ain't the song everybody knows, or this definitely ain't no mainstream song. So I find it very interesting that Jay-Z, of all people, this was the one he fought for, because you could have, of course he would have fought to have some of the old 80 or something, but he went for this. So I tip my hat to Jay over that. That's very interesting to me. With that said, this song is no different, and at least as far as I can see, than what I've heard of this song. It's been on bootleg for many years, but I respect that they put it on here. I've always liked this song. It was an interesting. I think when I first heard this song, probably was in 2000, late 90s. It was on some bootleg or something, and I wasn't aware of the Martika thing at the time. But this is a cool song. I question somewhat actually if it fits on this collection, but I'm not mad that it's here. We'll go to Dey Dropping.
Yeah, I remember hearing this song, the Prince version of it, a long time ago. I think the only real difference on this one is it's a little bit clearer, a little bit cleaner. Mm-hmm. But there have been a lot of good versions of this Prince version out for some time now. Comparing to the version from Martika, her version is good. The only critique I have on her version is that it just goes on for way too long. If you hear the full version of it, and where it originally fades out, you could end the song right there, but then it just keeps coming back with the synth and fading out and coming back and fading out. It gets kind of monotonous. This one doesn't have that, luckily, but his vocal performance on this one again also sounds more legit to me, more sincere than Martika's version. That said, he himself said that when he first heard her perform it, when he heard her record it, he shed a tear to it. So, that tells you what he thought of her recording as well. And it's beautiful. Her recording is beautiful. I like his too. I think the inclusion of this one here, it's a good inclusion. I think it fits in here because he did originally do it. It just sounds so similar to the one that got released that it almost seems like it doesn't belong. But I think that just goes to show just how well produced this track was to begin with. It didn't need much. It didn't need much more. It just required the right voice for it, and Martika fit that voice. I remember hearing her version when it came out. I think I may have been a freshman in '87 when I first heard it. MTV was playing it a lot late night, and I would hear it a lot then. But his version is one that I've always liked. I've always liked the song. I always thought the way, again, like I said, it's just very soulful when he sings it. When she sings it, it's like she's trying to almost show off that she's got the chops. Prince don't even have to show it off. It's just like natural. Comes out natural from when he sings this type of a song. And again, that's just more to his genius. And, I have them on par. Again, this is another tie. I like her version. I knew this is one of the few songs that I knew was a Prince song when I heard the remake of it. So I knew that this was a Prince song when I heard Martika's version of it, and I liked that she did a good job with it. So for me, they're both equal in score. They're both beautiful songs. They're both soulful songs, versions of it, and they're both 9s.
All right. Just quick add, there's apparently, I guess when they re-recorded this song, it was recorded with Sonny T on the vocals and for possibly going on the Exodus album. So I'd love to have heard that. There was going to be a completist. If there was a completist version of this original, so just like put everything on there, you got to add that. And then just to tie it in, because I'm a big fan of this guy, Rashawn Patterson, great vocalist. He is featured on this album as well. The Martika one, he's in the video for Martika's Kitchen, but also one of the other songs that Prince did for that album, Don't Say You Love Me, which I think is a great sort of New Jack type swing type song.
It's a good song.
But Rashawn Patterson sings on that, which was a cool connection. I always wanted to see them work together. But anyway, there you go. Big Sexy.
I wasn't familiar with the Martika version. I knew she had done it, but I wasn't familiar with it until very recently. And his has a little more vibe to it, like Still Will Stand All Time, with the chorus. A little bit of that gospel vibe to it, but the lead vocal, magnificent. I can only imagine Sonny cussing all through this song now. If he did it, calling people all kinds of, well, never mind. But again, I'm glad, and it shows a lot about Jay-Z's knowledge of Prince. So people, like you said, Mike, need to step off. Jay-Z said, look, this needs to be on here. And it does, and I'm glad he put it on here, because it's one of the songs that he gave away to somebody that didn't blow up like Glamorous Life or Jungle Love. But it's still a great song. That just shows, a lot of people were slipping on Martika because they didn't get it. Now, we're talking about her. I can't think of her big single off the top of my head. Did she have one? I don't know. I know the name, but I don't know why I know the name.
Maybe. I can only think of Martika's Kitchen. That was the only one I remember.
Because I can't think of it.
I remember Tony was in that video.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, Lord. But this is another great song. And again, like you said earlier, Mike, should have called this Receipts, not Originals. Oh, Prince and all that. Here you go.
Hilarious. And Pooh.
Yeah, I've heard about this song, and I know I've heard about Martika, but I have never heard the song before. And this is another revelations to me. I love the way that he's singing this. The music is giving me vibes of not only One of Us, the remake that he did for If God Was One of Us. I think he did that for, was it Emancipation or Raven 2?
Emancipation. And it's giving me I Wish You Heaven vibes as well. That the booming and the I think it's the kick drum. So that right there, I'm already into the song. But just his vocals, I went back and I listened to Martika's version. Hers seemed pretty sad, whereas the way Prince is singing it, it's more upbeat and hopeful. So for me right there, I think that's definitely a plus over the original. But yeah, hearing this, I'm mad that I slept on this because it's a really beautiful song, and Prince's vocals on this definitely elevates it to I will be listening to it more. All right. Up next is another Sheila E. track, Dear Michelangelo. And I'm curious about, I wonder, because there's what, 3 or 4 Sheila E. songs on this release? And they're all from this, well, except for Glamorous Life, very similar in time period. I'm curious of the songs that they didn't pick for this. I wish we could see, like, here's all of the choices that we had and why they went with some of the, because it's a lot of Sheila E. here, which I'm not mad at. I'm just very curious how they decided, even if they had all these other songs, you know what, let's put another Sheila E. song on here, which I'm not mad at, but just very curious how they came to the conclusions of some of these picks. Dear Michelangelo, I will actually say I actually like Sheila's vocal sound better on this, but I love this song. I think this actually leaked out like a year or so ago. Terrible quality. But when I heard it and it was slightly different than what her release version, I was like, God, I can understand this song a little better, and I can hear this sounds totally like Prince to me now. Even more so. This reminds me really sonically of Around the World in a Day album. It's a production of it. But I think this is a cool song. I love hearing his guitar in this. Excuse me. And, you know, it's not as different from that, but I just think I love the clarity of this. Another great, you know, version of Prince doing this song. So I love it. And Pooh. And Pooh. All right, we have a technical.
I'm sorry about that.
Okay,
not quick on the mute button. I get when he did this song with Sheila E., and Sheila brings to the table her drumming and her percussion, and it definitely adds to the song. But man, hearing this song with it stripped down a tad bit without the percussion and that guitar in there, for me it elevates the song. And of course, you know, Prince's vocals, it is what he's doing with a lot of these songs. It's just really transforming from what the release versions are. And I love this. If there's one complaint I would have with this, and maybe it might be on the finished CD version, but I really wish they had some audio commentary to these songs. Maybe having some of the producers, maybe even some of the people who sang the song, or some of the people that contributed to it, you know, just to really talk about, you know, give us some insight of where he was going with this track before he ended up in the hands of the artist that put it out. I had never been a fan of this song, but listening to this, I really like hearing what he did with this and where he started with this. And I would like to know, why is the guitar gone like that, or at least as heavy as it was in Sheila E.'s version? I'd probably say that it's about the same. Although I like as far as vocally, I say it's about the same. Although I'd like the guitar in the Prince version more.
All right, Dey Dropping.
Well, you know, in the Purple Rain soundtrack, I've always felt that Computer Blue and what's the one after it? My mind slips me here. After Computer Blue, Darling and Nikki, that they're always two parts of the same song. I feel similar with Dear Michelangelo and Sheila E. It always, to me, in the Sheila E. album, it always seemed like the intro to A Love Bizarre because of how abruptly and cool it goes right from one to the other. So right off the top, I like that this originals version extends beyond what the Romance 1800 version goes, and it's got it's a lot more guitar heavy, and I'm never going to say no to that. And again, as with the other Sheila E. tracks on this, the lyrics are a lot more clear. I can make out what is being said. It's another one of those tracks that, you know, you mumble lyrics, but you like the song, and you know the chorus, but you mumble the verses. Now I know exactly what's being said, and I can appreciate the song, the lyrical part of the song, a lot more now. And plus, you know, I always could hear Prince doing background vocal on Sheila's version of it, and the majority of the tracks on that album, but on this one, I definitely would hear his vocals on it. And now it's like, it almost feels like you have Sheila muted and you get to just hear Prince, which is pretty cool. But I mean, of course, this is the version before that. I think in her version, it's really cool, but because it's so abrupt, it's like a 7. His version, it's better. I like his better, and I think he outdid her on this one. And his original's version, I would score it an 8.
All right, Big Sexy.
You know, kind of like what Ernie said, to me, this was always the lead-in to Love Bizarre. Now, having said that, Prince does it in a slightly lower register than Sheila. And again, it gives it a whole different life to it. You know, I'm kind of like, I don't want to say I'm like dumbfounded by it, but just hearing, again, I don't know if this one was written for Sheila. I'm sure it was. But again, Prince is taking himself out of his own identity and doing it from the vantage point and attitude of a female and knocking the hell out of it. You know, when this was recorded, again, the sax to me sounds like Eddie M, and that's great. But again, imagine he's just sitting in the studio. Let me put this together for Sheila. Eddie, come over and play this. Okay. And then Sheila comes in and does her thing on top of it. Amazing. Just amazing. The depth of talent in this band was just, we're still just scratching the surface. You know, and again, hopefully Jay and the people at this stable say, let's do a volume 2 in a year and a half or so, because there's so much more to mine from that people will buy, and I can't wait. And again, that's what I want to say. That's the one thing I don't like about streaming. Ant mentioned this earlier. Having it like an audio track, this is the perfect place, perfect opportunity for some great liner notes to be involved. So hopefully when the vinyl comes out, someone at the estate or whoever will do that. Give us that to go along with the music. Give us that type of companion piece. That would make it a double value for me right there.
Yeah, you brought up something about this being the lead into a Love Bizarre. Again, just questioning, I wonder how they pick these songs. You would think the obvious choice to put the Love Bizarre, again, if there is a Prince version of that without Sheila, it seemed like that would have been an obvious sort of song to put on here too, because that was obviously probably her second biggest of all the songs she had. But then I guess the question would be, how long do you let it play, right? Like,
yeah,
because it's a pretty long song on the album. But anyway, the next track, number 14, Wouldn't You Love to Love Me? As I mentioned earlier, there were a couple songs I had to hear immediately. This was the second one. I had assumed this was going to be the Prince version of the 86 take on this. I believe it was 86. That was it the later one? Or 87. I'm sorry. It's either 86 or 87. But the version that is on the Taja Seville album, production-wise, I thought this was going to be that, because there is a version out there, that leaked, that is Prince singing that version, which is, I wish that was dope too. Now, my version of this song is the actual, I think it's the one, maybe one of the very first versions, 1976 version of this that Prince recorded, which sounds like he's doing it into like a boombox or something, but funky as hell. But the version that we got is, I believe, from 1981, recorded in Los Angeles.
Really?
And this, I never heard this before. I was taken aback when it came on. I was like, what is this? And I was like, yo, they pulling out another one. I had to sit down and reevaluate everything I thought about this song. This was a grower to me. I will say this feels more like a bootleg than anything on this album. I only say that in regards to the sound quality of it. I did read an article interview with Michael Howe, and he was mentioning about this song, and they knew like this was the only song that did not sound like all the other stuff, sonically wise, technically, because they didn't want to put the same versions we heard previous, so they want to do something different, and they just got the best quality of what they had and tried to fix it up. But I respect this. I'm glad that they're not scared to dive a little bit into this. Isn't, super studio quality. The rest of it's recorded in the studio, but this is the best version we had. We'll put this on there. To me, this is for the hardcore people. Like, they didn't give us what we had heard before. They gave us something different, and I can respect that. And I'm taking this one in, and I'm learning this. I'm like, okay, I can see what Prince is doing. Oh, this is different. So love it. If I had to nitpick, I wish they didn't have to be bound to. There can only be so many songs on this, or this has to be. I don't know what they're thinking, that this release needs to fit to some aesthetic. I would say load this bitch up, like put multiple versions of these songs on there. I don't know why not. This is for fans, in my opinion. Mainstream people are either gonna buy it or they're not. But I don't. So I would say I don't know why you wouldn't have take 1, take 2. Here's the 81 version. Here's this version. I would say you throw them all on there. Maybe you put them at the end, or you have a whole second disc of all the other stuff. But I love this. I'm glad this is on here. I'm curious to hear Dey Dropping. What do you think about this?
I've never heard, to this day, I'd have to look it up. Never heard the Tasha Zaville version of it. I might have, but I don't remember it. Oh, wow. So I don't have that basis of comparison compared to this. I don't know if it's a good version or not.
It is. It is. It was a single. That video. Eric Lee's. Yeah,
I'm sure I have heard it. I just don't recall it. So I'm gonna have to listen for that one again. And but so my basis of comparison is for that 76 version, which for me has always been, that the definitive version of this song. Because of its sparseness, I've always liked the way that's always been a favorite of mine, that track. So when I heard this one, it was shocking at first. I didn't know what to think about it. Again, this is another track that challenged me, and originally I thought, well, okay, that's Wouldn't You Love to Love Me? And then that was about all I thought about it. It wasn't anything bad. I just didn't, I go on to the next track. But listening to it more, this is a great version of it. This is a different take of the track. And I'm one who before would love to hear all the different versions of, say, Computer Blue and how it evolved. And now with us having heard the 76 version and then having heard this one that was a few years later, we get to hear the evolution of the track and how he was playing around with it and how he decided to go a little disco with this one. And, I dig that he was doing that. And for the people that put this together, how very, like you commented on, Mike, how very princely of them to do that, to dare put a track like this on here when it is not up to the same quality sonically as the others. And I've heard a lot of people on forums and stuff, especially on prince.hate.org, whatever you want to call it.
Wow.
Especially over there, they just, for the sake of doing it, almost crap on this version of it because of the way it sounds, because it's not up to par with the other ones. But it needs to be included on here. Because of its challenging aspect. I thought it was a great song. I thought this is a great version of it. I'm a little tarnished by really loving the 76 version. So that particular one, I score that one a solid 8. This one is on par with that one. It's an 8 also, but I could see me enjoying this one a little bit more the more times I hear it and rescoring it to a higher score because it's got a lot of stuff going on. It's one of those songs that you have to hear over and over again and be like, okay, this time I'm gonna listen for the bass line, hear what the bass line's doing. Okay, next listen on this track, I'm gonna hear and see what the percussion's doing. Or the next time I'm gonna hear what the synth is doing. It's one of those, it's kind of complex that where you wouldn't expect it to be. And I dig that. So yeah, this one's a solid 8.
All right, and apparently there's an 82 version, which again, I would love to hear that. And Pooh.
I never heard the Tasha Zaville?
Yes.
I'm sorry, butchering her name, version till yesterday. And For me, listening to that song, that is so sugary pop 80s corny pop song. But you listen to the song, it is. It is. But what astonished me is it just once again lets you know the genius of Prince, that in his sleep he can just I'm sorry, forgive my language, shit out a pop song. And I heard that version, but this version here, it's like a whole other song. I mean, you guys are telling me that this is a demo and sonically they had problems with getting a good high quality song. I guess I must be. I hit 40. My hearing must be off, because for me this sounds good, and I really like it. I love the music. It's totally different from the Taja Seville one, and just the way he's singing it is. I mean, I thought it might have been recorded around 84, 85, 86, when he was doing that whole Manic Monday and some of those songs. But to hear that it started out in 78, 76, I'm starting to hear, I'm like, okay, yeah, that does sound like something. And I know there's some MJ haters out here, but this does sound like a song they might have put out, or something like, I'm trying to think, who was it? Was it Cassidy? Was it Garrett? Those Donny Osborne, those type of people.
This song was offered to Mike for the Bad album.
Get the hell out of here!
Yeah. Yes.
Wow! I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I don't know if that would have fit though. They probably would have made it work. But wait a minute, hold on. I'm just trying to put my head around it. He offered him a song.
Yeah, the story is, when Quincy got Mike and Prince together, was to to talk about the duet of Bad.
Right.
And apparently, obviously Prince didn't want to do that, but they said he had submitted this song to them instead. Obviously, they didn't take it, but that would have been interesting.
Yeah, it would have. I don't. My opinion, I don't think Prince. I don't think Michael Jackson could have worked with this. That just is my opinion. He's great and all, but to me, it just didn't fit him. But overall, I really liked the song. To me, it was a discovery, and Again, you're seeing how the versatility of this man as a songwriter and a musician.
He just cut his mic. That's that old school. You in probably neighborhood with a ice cream man coming down. But anyway, all right. Big Sexy.
Mike, you stole my thunder, because I was going to mention that
my bad. This
was offered to Mike. I don't know if Mike was offered this version or something along the lines of what he did with Taja Seville, but this is a banger. Now, let's step into the Michael Dean Quantum Drive for a moment. If Mike said yes to this, and I'm going to disagree with Ann on it a little bit, you put the Q sheen on this,
right.
You got something heavy here. This could have been, another monster, but again, maybe it was ego, because after Thrill, I don't think Mike really worked with, outside songwriters. He worked with producers, yeah, but I don't think he worked with a lot of outside songwriters who didn't bring their own stuff in as producers. So plus, there was an issue between those two, and Mike's like, no, I'm not going to do it. You should have done this one, Mike. Put that Quincy Jones sheen on it, yeah. This could have been something real special. Not having said all that. I
could have almost seen it in the vein of The Way You Make Me Feel or something. It kind of remind me. The vibe is a little similar, not the same type of song.
Yes.
But anyway.
Now, this version sounds like a bootleg. I didn't know the song was dated back to 78 or so. But this was a great, window into what was going on with him at various stages. Again, if they were to expand this, and they have access to the 78 version, to this version, to the 86, and the Taja Seville, why not? Put it all in there. Let us all see how a song matures and goes from one stage to another stage to the completed stage. Now, this is another headbuster. Love it.
Yeah, this was a great find on their part to put this on there. I definitely love that. All right, the last song on this bad boy is Prince's version of Nothing Compares to You. For me, I've heard this song way too much. I dig this when it came out a year ago or so, and I think it's great, superior. I skipped this only because I'm tired of hearing this song so much. But I respect this version. This is a great version. Love it. So I get why they put it on here. If it was up to me, I would not have put this on here. I would have put something else just because it's already came out. But I'm not mad at it. Prosperity's sake and for other people. Well, let me say this. Let me end what I'm saying. I have my closing, but it's Nothing Compares to You. Ain't nothing for me to say about it. Dey Dropping.
Yeah, I agree with you, Mike. It's not a track that belongs on here because it's already been heard, and it's not a track that belongs on here, especially as the last track, because it's kind of it feels like a downer nowadays. This version of it, hearing it in light of his passing and everything, and the way it's sung and all, it almost takes on a different meaning. But it does take on a different meaning. There's no almost about it. So I don't think it belongs on here. It gives the ending of a Prince album a downer feel. And I don't know of any Prince album that gives you a downer feel at its end. So it doesn't work in that respect. It's in and of itself, though, it is a great track compared to Sinead O'Connor's version. I've never much cared for hers. I thought hers was extremely gloomy. And I know that was the point, but that never worked for me. I knew that one was a Prince track when I first heard her version. And I always wondered what his version would sound like, and I kind of got the answer when he did it on the hits, the B-sides, and when it was released there. And really, I think I kind of like that version better than this one. This is a good version, though. I mean, nothing wrong with it. But compared to Sinead O'Connor's is a 6. This version is a solid 8. I don't really listen to it here unless I forget to skip on to another track that I let it play through. Not bad. It's just I don't think it's necessary here. That's all.
Big Sexy and Sack.
Co-sign that. I don't think it fits here, and I'm going to be petty now. Everything on this album were songs given to Prince or by Prince to other people. This was a cover. He didn't give her this.
Well, it's a tribute to the family on this album, not to her, in a sense. So,
you know what? I walked right by that. I stand corrected because I was about to let the haterade flow.
Wow!
It was coming. It was coming. Having said that, then I remember when we talked to Paul, or St. Paul, to everyone else on this show, and he talked about doing this song. You can see what he got to work with, because the song was pretty much done. And he sent it to Paul, said, here you go, get this one. Paul's like, well, goddamn. Okay. It's a masterful song. Again, it is a little heavy way to end a collection like this. And I'm kind of like with Mike on this. I've heard it. And again, when I say I've heard it, I've heard the Prince version. I've heard him do it Rosie. And I've heard St. Paul's version, which is the one I prefer. O'Connor, you don't count here, so take it somewhere else. But this song does not need to be on this collection because it's too well known, in my opinion.
And Pooh.
I'm gonna have to disagree, and I have to give y'all to get off my lawn treatment. I'm not sure. I know this song. I think it might be 2 years now that this song has been around. I know they did a video last year for the celebration, but I mean, we have to take into account that yes, this release is for Prince fans, but at the same time, it's a release for people to discover Prince as well, and people that might not know how deep and far back his songs go. For me, the definitive version, y'all can go ahead and crap on me all you want. The definitive version is Sinead O'Connor. It was Sinead O'Connor.
Never was.
Yeah. What part of for me?
Got it.
Thank you.
I got it.
But when I heard this, You know, with that little do. I was like, wait, what the heck? I was like, oh man, Prince. No, they didn't. But then I decided, okay, don't judge a book by its initial opening beat. I heard the rest of this. I was like, and I put up on Facebook, and then Ernie responded. I said, we were not ready for Prince's Nothing Compares to You. I think there's a reason he did not put this out in 84, 85, 86. It just would have blown our minds, in my opinion. We had to get all the other stuff, all the other experimentation that he did, some of the trash stuff that he did to fully hear and accept and appreciate this song. And I love it. I'm glad it is here. Now, nobody asked me, but I'm gonna go ahead and do it anyway. My rankings of this song is the Prince version, the Sinead O'Connor version. It counts because it was a released album, the One Not Alone version, the Rosie Game version from the hits, and then the family.
Can I ask you a question? Which version did you hear first?
The first version was Sinead O'Connor. Oh, come on, don't do that. No, that's it. I
just walked you right into it, and you realized what was going
right into it.
Yes, Sinead O'Connor one was the first one.
That makes a lot of sense then, what you're saying.
But I fully appreciated the Rosie Gaines one. And I thought that was really good. But for me, there was something about the way she sang and delivered the vocals on the original one. But hey, like I'm saying, when I heard this one, I was like, oh yeah, no, that's the definitive one. That's it. He took it back.
Okay. Yeah, for me, because it's the version I heard first, was the family. Like, when the album came out, heard that, so whoa, and Eric Lee's sax solo and all. It's like, okay. And then when I heard Sinead a few years later, I was like, what the fuck is this? This is some but I get it. Like, I understand, okay, she's mainstream. The game is behind her. The song is dope. At the end of the day, it's a great freaking song. So it's supposed to be a big song. The family didn't have the machine behind them to promote that like that. So nobody had heard it. But they knew it was dope. And it was Steve Farnagli. I can't even say his name. Prince's ex-manager, who was the manager of Prince at that time, he's the one that suggested it to Sinead. Like, yo, nobody don't know this joint. You need to sing this. Because he knew that song was going to blow. It just, if you put the right, you give it a chance. So I get it. I'm not mad at it. The song itself is what's dope. We may all have our different sort of preferences, but can't deny the OG is the one that did it,
What was so funny is when I found out that, Prince wrote it, I just heard, oh, Prince wrote the song. So I'm thinking, oh, he wrote the song for Sinead O'Connor. And then, as I, got out of high school, went into college, found out, no, he wrote the song for some group called The Family. And that was like, for me, that was my holy grail. That was my first holy grail Prince song. Like, I gotta hear this song. And, late 90s, there was no way I couldn't find it in any record store. And I couldn't find it streaming either. It took, I think I want to say it was 2004 before I was able to finally get a bootleg copy of The Family to hear this song. So maybe it was like, it might have built it up, and at that point it was like, okay, that was it? Kind of like you low-key, okay, I'm not putting you on blast,
there we go.
But kind of like when Wally was finally released, you were like, that was okay. And actually a lot of people said the same thing.
But I had Wally. Nothing to, I get it. There was nothing to compare it to, but I hear what you're saying. All right. Let's give our closing thoughts on this. We're going to wrap this thing up. I'm going to do mine quickly here to say this. Love this release. This is a step in the greatest direction. This is the favorite one they've done so far, the estate for me. I think this release will work in the same way the Sly and the Family Stone Greatest Hits albums worked for me. The Stevie Wonder Greatest Hits album worked for me. They were my introductions into these guys because I had heard the songs, just in my peripheral pop culture sort of reference or on the side, oh yeah, I remember hearing that in a movie, or I've heard that on the radio before or something, but I had never owned the Sly albums. I'd never owned the Stevie albums, but I knew their bigger songs. I knew the songs. I knew a lot of them. I didn't realize how much of the songs I didn't know when I bought the Greatest Hits packages what's the Stevie Wonder one called? Aquarium or something like that, or
Musicarium.
Musicarium. That bangers, crazy. And I would dare somebody tell me, you need to go buy it. You just bought that. Stop it. This is Stevie Wonder. These songs are eternal. I hear them how I heard them. In the same way, I can't be mad at some kid or person today who didn't buy Dirty Mind or, Love Sexy or Sign of Times, but they know If I Was Your Girlfriend, or if they know Jungle or something. I can't be mad at how they got into it. So I can't be mad if this is the introduction. This would be a great introduction. You heard, I've heard Glamorous Life or Jungle Love. It was in that one Kevin Smith movie. Love that. I love that song, right? I never really bought the Time album. I don't know much about it. I know who Prince is. Oh, what's this new one streaming? Oh, this is Jungle Love. This is Prince singing this? Wow, and you hear these other songs. These are Manic Monday? I had no idea. This guy's freaking amazing. Let me go check out some of his other stuff. And they go down the rabbit hole and they ain't coming out. So I love that. These types of releases I think are great. And at this point of where we're at with it, whatever can get the music out there to people, I'm with it. And they discover it on their own and get sucked in. So this is a great release. I think this works on that level. I also think it works great to a fan. To hear his versions, some of the stuff you may have heard before, there's a couple of songs on here you haven't. Some challenging stuff on here. I said, wow, okay, let me get into this. Take my time. It's not supposed to be an instant gratification. So this is a beautiful release. I am going to buy the deluxe editions. I think it comes with like a 20-page booklet or something like that. I'm curious to see if there's
all
commentary. Yeah, this is worthy for me to get that. So I'm going to buy that. And I hope they do more. I think this is a great idea. I would love to hear other stuff. Even if it's, again, this is opening the door to do unreleased Prince song releases. We don't necessarily need to be tied to other artists. And if they have to get down and dirty a little bit and put on something like Wouldn't You Love to Love Me, and if it's not the most pristine quality, I ain't mad at it. Please do. I would rather give y'all my money for these types of releases than to be dealing with bootlegs or the stuff be out there for free. So to me, step in a great direction. I hope it does well for them. Whether it does or doesn't, I still love it, and I still want more. So great, love it. Best thing they put out so far. And Pooh, what's your last thoughts?
For me, once again, just like the piano and the microphone, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I want more of these releases because they're one showing us the versatility of Prince. I mean, we knew he was great, but what these last two albums are showing us is giving us an intimate look into him, an intimate look into his creative process. We're seeing tracks that he put together. Some of us are calling them demos. Some of us are calling them guide tracks. These more than likely, some of these could be tracks that he was going to put out, but then decided, let me go left with this. Let me go over here, put it over there. And what I like is that it's showing us how he envisioned these tracks for himself in some cases. And I like that. Like when you hear Gigolos Get Lonely Too, you're seeing a different take on that. When you're hearing Jungle Love, even though I like more is better, you're seeing that, okay, this is how I'm going to be. And you understand that he was probably performing it for the time, so it was a total act. But there's a grain of truth in that as well. You're seeing Glamorous Life, Baby, You're a Trip. I'm sorry, what was the Kenny Rogers song, You're My Love? Mm-hmm. It's just like, it just blows your mind at how he's composing these songs. And you're just, for me, for a whole new generation that have grown up or now know 1999, Let's Go Crazy. And of course, Purple Rain and Kiss. Nah, this man can do it all. And here's like you said, I was about to say here's the proof. No, here's the receipts right here. Mm-hmm. And And it's like, and I love this. And at the same token, it's helping me rediscover some of these artists, specifically Jill Jones, who, you know, I know she had the vocal chops, but now I'm going back to go listen to her albums. I'm probably going to go listen to some of her other albums because, you know, again, I hate to say that it takes Prince making me appreciate Jill Jones, but, you know, sometimes it's out there, and, you know, I'm sure she'll say she's happy Prince put her on, and she's happy that, and she might be happy. I should say, I won't speak for her. She might be happy to say that Prince is giving her a spotlight again through these songs that, you know, he wrote and gave to her. So the only complaint that I would have, and, you know, maybe we'll probably have to wait for the physical disc to come out where they do give you the backgrounds into these songs. Hopefully they give you some dates. Hopefully they might even have some stories. But beyond that, I want them to take a page from some of the other anniversary discs that went out. I'm looking at Michael Jackson with Thriller and Bad, where they're showing you the demos and then they're giving you the original release versions and then a remastered version. And in between each one of those songs, they got somebody talking. They even had Mike talking about it. They had some interviews with him that they put on the album. That's something I would like to see. If they don't have Prince talking about this song, maybe I mean, he was recording everything. Maybe he was recording himself, putting the song together and talking to somebody about, oh, I want this here, or I'm gonna take this out. I'd like to hear that. I'd like to know if that went into it. I'd like to hear from Susan Rogers and is it Peggy McCreary? I like to hear from Jesse Johnson giving us the backstory. I mean, was Jungle Love a diss to the time? I'd like to know if that's what people think. So this to me, a 9 out of 10. And I want to give it a 9 out of 10 because there's some songs that I wish they had put on there and a couple they shouldn't have.
All right, Big Sexy.
To me, and again, I'm going to get a little blowback on this. This brought all of the excitement to me that Piano on a Microphone didn't bring. You know, this had so much on it. You know, Piano on a Microphone was a good release, but it was kind of sparse compared to this. This was so rich and so well produced sonically. That's the key to it. And hopefully when the physical releases come out, it will have the booklet and have the stories that go with this music that should be told, that people need to learn about. You know, like Mike, I learned through Sly Stone, or learned about Sly Stone through that Greatest Hits package. That's what put me on Sly, which led me to Graham Central Station. So it gives people an opportunity to learn more about this guy who has given so much music in so many areas. It's not even funny. And hopefully the estate will keep this up, keep this energy up with future releases, because there's a lot in there to go through. And as long as the curators of the vault are doing their job like this, let's go. Let's keep getting them out there.
All right, Dey Dropping.
Well, school is in session with this release, and it's going to allow you, if you have the ear for it and you have the willingness to take a deep journey, will give you a quick and concise idea that Prince was as prolific as anybody else out there, even more so, in my opinion. And you will be schooled when you start to go down this rabbit hole. This is just a peek into the rabbit hole. And I think that a release like this is very, very important. Piano on a Microphone showed you that what happens when he's just goofing around. And that shows you that he's very talented just doing that. This tells you just how talented he is, that these tracks could just go to somebody else. I will be getting a physical copy of this because I want to see what else is involved with this. And I also want to be able to contribute to the estate as proof that these types of releases matter, in hopes that other releases like this get out, and sooner than later. I'm sure eventually they will, but sooner than later. Because like you said, Mike, I would rather pay the estate and pay towards them than to have to hunt this down through dubious means with bootlegs. I've got no problem paying for stuff like this, and I think it's well worth it. This is a part of a historical bit that we can now hopefully be able to see. You're uncovering little bits into this this history of Prince's music, and this is just a small little bit of it. If like I said, this is class in session, this is the summer version of a class, summer school version, and it's real concise, real quick. There's so much more out there that requires to be heard, that requires to be taken in, and I want to hear that. I want to be challenged. This album challenged me. This album brought back to me a happiness that I hadn't had in a Prince release in such a long time. Even when he was still with us, I enjoyed the releases that he was releasing on the yearly, and they had some good tracks, but this one here, this collection of tracks here, it made me smile, it made me happy, and it made me proud to be a follower of this guy's music. And more importantly, like I said, it challenged me with certain tracks. And musically nowadays, I like to be challenged by something like that. And, it's required listening. This album is. To everybody out there who has not gotten it, don't download it dubiously. Pay for this. Get it. Show them that this is something that is required listening and that we need more of this. I think, Mike, you said it'll open up doors towards a lot more inclusive deluxe packages. And I hope it does. I think that this album is very, very necessary. And it's something that will teach people that Prince was as prolific as we all knew he was. To those who just weren't sure and just thought that he was nothing more than Purple Rain, Little Red Corvette, Let's Go Crazy, he was much more than that. And this is just proof of that here in 15 tracks of just how good he really was. And again, this is just peeking into the rabbit hole, people. That's all it is. There's so much more. You can get lost for hours. It's not an exaggeration. And, to round it up for me, I will give this one a 9 out of 10. It's almost a perfect album. I don't think Nothing Compares to You belongs on it, and I think it could have been replaced with any other track that would have done much better for us as a whole. But it is such a great, great release. I'm so thankful for this day for putting this together, for Jay-Z for putting this together as well. Thank you for putting this. It's worth a listen. It's worth buying. Everybody needs to go out there and get it. And let's hope for some more releases like this. I'm extremely hopeful after this kind of release that we will be getting more things like this down the future. And I'm waiting for it with open arms and open ears.
Yes, and just another shout out to Tidal putting this out. I know they got this as part of sort of the settlement of the deal they had with Prince, and the estate wanted to go a different direction and put all his music out there. But I love that day one it was on Tidal first. That's a good look. In my opinion, it's a good look for all involved. So shout out to everybody that made that happen. And hopefully you guys enjoyed this review. We went in depth and talked about each track. We'd love to, hear what you guys thought about this, what you thought about the album. What are some of your favorite songs off of this album? What are some songs that I guess Prince may have given to other people that you may have wanted to hear on this? Or maybe what you want to hear on the next volume of this? Maybe we can give them some ideas of songs we would like to see or hear on a Originals Volume 2, if they could consider that. They did mention, the Michael Howell guy on that interview, I think it's a Reddit interview, he did mention that they're looking to see if there's interest for that. So I'm saying there is, man. Keep it going. Also, I want to invite you to join our Patreon page. If you haven't already, please join our Patreon. Just go to podcastjuice.net. And you'll see the links there. Also, you'll see the links on the show notes for this episode. Again, join our Discord chat. If you want to jump in and holler at me, that's the place to catch me, unless it's on some business stuff, you can email me. But other than that, I'm on that chat all the time. It's on my phone. You'll see all the other co-hosts on there and all the other listeners there as well. So definitely join our Discord chat. It is in the show notes. Last thing, please get your Podcast on Prince t-shirts, hoodies, all that good stuff. We got them for sale. Again, go to the website, click on the gear tab. And thank you to all of my panelists today for joining me. Again, also thank you to Dey Dropping for coming on. We hadn't heard you in a while. Thank you for coming on last minute.
Yes, sir.
And as I always say, work it like a job. We'll see you next time. Peace.